starting? Is it that you have Zach or Alistar starting something? Do you have Gnar following that up or even starting it off? The kind of initiation that Stanford has is all on not Tanner here on the Recon. He has to be the one to start the fights, start them perfectly, start them well, start them on the key targets, and be able to turn that into his teammates are then going to have to follow that up perfectly to delete people before they can start.
Yeah, for sure.
The fight around, because you can counter-initiate with Stanford's current lineup.
Yeah, and you know, Rakan isn't just going to have that knock-up. A lot of the ways that you hear the Rakambo is what they call it, is when he casts that quickening, that ultimate to get the charms while he does the jump forward, and he'll get you with the double crowd control charm and knock you up and then just keep running around super quick. And that's aggravating, let me tell you what, because you might be able to stop one or two of your guys from being hit with that crowd control, but then you have that immediate follow-up without any sort of counterplay on it, and it's really powerful. I want to see a couple of those coming into this game because it's fun.
Yeah, and again, this is a best of 3, so even though both these teams have clear win conditions for the lineups they've decided to draft for themselves, it will essentially be, what can you learn about the enemy team in this best of 3? This is game 1. We're here on to Summoner's Rift. Finally, this is Stanford University versus University of Oregon in a best of 3. Game 1 here on your screen. Summoner's Rift.
I like these inventories. I see one stopwatch. Oh, it makes me happy inside.
We're almost
done with it.
Almost done with it. They're actually going to increase the timer on it for Stopwatch as a rune in an upcoming. It's on PBE right now, where it's changed from 6 minutes to 10 minutes, which I think is a little bit healthier.
Holy cow!
It is a free, essentially get out of jail free card. Sometimes even get a free kill card.
Yeah.
And so I think it's healthy to delay it even further. I like that it's available as an item prior to completing a full hourglass, because I think that's a lot of gold to invest into essentially. Not the item stats themselves. You're really never buying Hourglass for its stats. You're buying it for that active. So I like that it's available earlier in the game. But 6 minutes is a little too early for my taste.
Well, continuing with that thought, I think the only item with the stopwatch, upgrading from the stopwatch, the only one you do buy for the stats is the Gargoyle Stone Plate.
Yeah.
Let's be completely honest here. Even the Guardian Angel, even though they changed it to be, an AD item, you get it because you revive.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say it's so adorable that they got the double Sweetheart skin into the knockup. So Ignite is down a lot of damage there onto Fidix.
And that's just the level 1 trade potential here from Xayah Rakan. And they do have those matching skins, as you said. And you can see just both of them having their Ws means so much damage and the engage potential. There's no return that's possible to match that kind of not only crowd control, but, of course, the damage that comes through from both. Because Xayah's W will buff the damage from the auto attacks from Rakan. So you just got to watch out for that level 1 trading potential. Now they're at level 2, a little bit early ahead of here Stanford, but you step forward to get some of those Targon procs as Mr. PBH, and you could be in big trouble. There's Flash gone already from Tristana.
And the potion. See, now, Smart here picking up the Doran's shield to stay in lane a little bit better. That was a recent thing near the end of Season 7 that people started doing to get the extra... we'll talk about that in a second. A nice riposte there to block the jump in from the Elastic Slingshot. Now it is a 2v1, but in comes the Rek'Sai. Let's see. First blood does go to Carlton Danks as he takes down Bootless Tintin. And now it is a 1v1. Bot with my support burns the flash from Clans. A nice 1v1 or 2v2 up in the top lane, but Stanford coming out ahead.
Yeah, flashes are available for both the top laners. The junglers use theirs, and that's going to be first blood for Gnar. A return kill. Oh, this could get bloody.
And now let's see, does he continue? He gets the hop immediately out of the teleport. He's probably spamming that key as he was coming through. Nice.
Yeah, so it will be the flashes from both the junglers, teleports from both the top laners. Flash is still available for both Bootless Triton on Fiora and Carlton Danks on the Gnar. But that's going to be an overall gold lead for Carlton, he gets the first blood, and then, of course, he's able to soak whatever experience in gold is at his turret at this point. But this opens up a little bit of an opportunity for Bootless Triton to be a little aggro here. Could be kind of crazy to just jump over a blind when your jungler isn't there too, but
he did get a ward over the wall into the Krug pit.
So they get a little bit of information from that, and he'll take the blast plant to slow any more jungle. But this is an aggressive Vigar.
Here we go. The Command Protect does save Dolce from the full impact of that dark matter, but you know, right there, just knowing exactly how to land the event horizon to get the stun, or at least the arena for the stun if it happens. Nice work from Spanky there.
Yeah, and honestly, he's farming up pretty well. It's really difficult to manage your mana as Vigar early on, especially if you're just trying to stack your Q all the time. You're either going to get pushed into turret because you're going to be waiting on that spell over and over and over again and not have the damage to just AoE wave clear, and you don't really want to, right, because you want the last hits. You're either going to run low on mana, which is really frustrating as Vigar, or you're going to just simply get pushed into your turret and lose all pressure. But you can see almost the opposite being true with him having a decent mana pool, Spanky still remaining close in CS and farming up what's left behind, and then Orianna forced to base because she's out of mana. So interesting to see that going relatively in favor of Spanky here in mid.
And now they changed, I was going to say, even especially for old school Veigar players, running out of mana has got to be way frustrating because his old passive used to be that of the Athenes, where he would gain a % of his mana back based on how much was missing. And so that would be seriously the most aggravating thing. It's just like running out on Nasus when you have to get the siphoning strikes on the last hits and get your infinite scaling. Really frustrating. But now it looks like Rek'Sai is taking that Scuttle Crab. Will we see a return gank there on the top side?
Remember that flashes are available for both of these top laners. Mega Gnar's almost available. That's going to be an engage of sorts from the Fiora, but spotted out by the ward bot with nice support.
Oh, he's level 6!
To level 4, that's a lot of damage.
But now the damage is coming in. It looks like Fiora dealing a lot there. Bot with my support makes it out, and a nice attempt here from Clans on the bot side. Seeing bot with my support up on the top means you got to fight somewhere else, and so it was a nice attempt there to try and get an advantage on another part of the map.
Yeah, you know, Carlton turning around onto bot with my support, using his ultimate, stunning against the wall, a lot of extra damage. I think he got a little ahead of himself to jump on top of the Rek'Sai, just because now what are you going to do? You just used all your spells, you did a lot of burst damage, but you're still in a 1v2, and he forces his own flash by continuing to aggress onto the Rek'Sai rather than just choosing to back off after getting a nice trade. I think a little bit of just himself to blame there ends up giving what was otherwise not helpful of a gank, not unhelpful, but not a helpful gank from Rek'Sai, means that now Flash is down. Rek'Sai, if she chooses to return, could actually get something onto that.
Oh, especially because now you have the level 6 on Fiora, putting that Grand Challenge down, couple extra Vitals, and the Flash there with the Tiamat. It's going to be a lot easier to deal that true damage to the Gnar. Even in Mega Gnar form, true damage ignores those extra resistances you get. And here we go, the crazy back timing there. Just need to click it. And there it goes. Auto attack following. Did you see that animation? It was very, very special. Good pressure coming out of the Xayah Rakan down here. They're not up in any really significant way, but they're doing exactly what we were talking about in keeping themselves up in this lane. They're pushing, they're keeping even, and they've even dodged the gank.
Yeah, what I want to see here from Stanford, their composition's a little bit simpler to run, I would say. Like it's much easier for them to press the go buttons that they have and play to their champion's abilities. There's not a lot of complicated strategy involved, whereas there are certain spells that have to land and have to land in certain ways for Oregon. The Event Horizon being a big deal, and here we are, gank into mid lane by 3 members.
Of everybody is there. Looks like a lot of auto attacks just coming from Fidix, not wanting to step into that Event Horizon. Very wise, because the damage, even right now at this barely level 8 Veigar with just a lost chapter, it's a lot. If you get hit with that stun, you're going to get hit with the Dark Matter and the Q and the ultimate, and you will probably end up dying as a squishy little Tristana. So very wise to not continue that assault there.
Yeah, and you just want to be careful. I don't know if you definitely need to build a QSS on Tristana this game. It's possible that that's something you might want to consider. If you're FiDix here, the Tristana, you have to play really smart with your positioning because so many things can interrupt your rocket jump. And, of course, the Charm or the Event Horizon from either Spanky or Tanner here, inversely, respectively, will spell death for you because of the massive amounts of damage that can come through from Vigar, from, honestly, Xayah. She has a lot of damage later on with the crit build. And then, of course, Fiora, if she just builds full damage, full lifesteal and damage, that could be crazy. But we might have a gank here. She has Flash available here on Fiora.
The Flash, and she had a really good riposte earlier, but there is the vision. Clans is going to still go in. Oh, he does land the ult. Oh, but the block, the riposte on Let's Bounce. I like that she saved it. Bootless Triton understanding Zach as a champion enough to know that you don't need to block that that elastic slingshot this time.
Yeah, smart play. She knows, yes, even if Elastic Slingshot lands on me, if I riposte it, yes, I don't take the damage and I don't get crowd controlled, but he still gap closes and can take that fight.
Here we go. There's the flash forward with the ultimate there to get the quickening. FiDix is going to die because of the assassination coming from the Rex side. Nidalee One Trick dodges out turret aggro from the ultimate herself. Mr. PBH does get rooted, but breaks it with the Unbreakable Will. They know that Zach was just on the top side, and so they feel safe enough to do a dive. 2-1 now in favor of Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, it was a well-executed dive on the bottom lane here. You end up using the tools you need to reset the tower aggro. You could see if it weren't for Rek'Sai ultimate, if it weren't for Xayah ultimate, it's likely that those guys die to turret damage, but they're not going to because they've taken the time to practice their champions. They know what they can do, and they've drafted a composition that allows for that kind of turret diving.
For sure. And then just understanding not Tanner getting that great engage there too was fantastic to watch. Misses the initial knock-up with the ultimate running, but flashes forward, understands that that's good enough. Using that flash to get the kill, keep FiDix under control. Now they have a 20 CS lead as well in that lane. It's looking really good for Oregon across the map so far. 1,000 gold ahead. They're having pressure in their lanes. They haven't lost the matchups they were supposed to lose. It's looking good.
Yeah, I'm interested about FiDix's choice here to be rushing essentially the Infinity Edge is what that will build into. I don't think it's the proper choice here. You don't have attack speed from either your runes. I mean, you're going to have some because it's a precision tree, but what I mean is you're not running lethal tempo, and you're not running a shield heal support that can build Ardent Sensor and give you attack speed, or even like a Lulu without that can give you attack speed. So your overall DPS, yes, each of your autos are going to hit like a truck, but they're very slow, especially if you don't have your Q off cooldown. I'm not sure it's the best choice here, because if you have 2 to 3 melees that you're going to be hitting and hitting often, you need to make sure that you're hitting whenever possible, whenever any of those melees are in range of you. They're going to be strong. It's unlikely that you can burst them out, especially because a couple of them can like stop some of your burst. You can have riposte, you can have shields come through from Tanner. The charms are really strong from Tanner, and then Bot with my support here, if he's the melee that's on top of you as Tristana, he can just ult to dodge some of your damage.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't agree with the stacking of AD early. I think it's smart to go BF Sword into a completed Sheen item, probably Static Shiv to help with your push, because you're getting shoved into turret.
Do you mean Sheen or Shiv?
Static Shiv.
Yeah.
Did I say Sheen?
Yeah, you said a Sheen item.
Static Shiv.
Zeal item.
A Zeal item. I was just thinking Static Shiv is just the best option. I was getting ahead of myself, but Static Shiv is just the better choice there. It helps with your wave clear, it helps with your DPS in team fights, and of course, it'll hit everybody in the team fight if you get the actual energized proc off. So I'd like to see more of that from the Tristana. If they're building straight into iEdge.
But we're going to need to see a look here on the bottom side as we see 4 red portraits. The Shockwave does not go in. Nidalee One Trick gets the ultimate to dodge out some damage, but Clans gets his own to take out Not Tanner. Nidalee One Trick is going to take a lot more damage there from Dolce. Almost getting out scot-free.
Could be a 4v3 though, and all the ultimates were already used, so this could get a little hairy. Spanky here.
Ooh, nice position though.
Yeah, he doesn't land the Event Horizon. It would really have to just be poor positioning by Stanford to get hit by that, because it was all in vision. Perhaps there's an argument to be made for Spanky using teleport. There's a lot of wards for him to do that too. He does have his hourglass if things were to be turned on him. But I think with all the ultimates down, you just cut your losses and try not to get dove.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like Nidalee One Trick is down there, has decent wave clear with the Xayah, able to throw the feathers through everything and get the extra attacks, pull it back, and just clear the wave underneath the turret and make use of everything that's there and get a good back. Meanwhile, up here on the top side, it looks like the wallop does land onto Bootless, but now, this was the match that Fiora was supposed to lose. We talked about the boomerang spam, the poke, everything like that. Should be completely in Gnar's favor, but looks like Bootless is doing really well to keep up. Only about 15 CS down. 15
CS down is about it's about a kill's worth of gold though.
Yeah.
So essentially a 2-kill gold lead here for Carlton, and until just now he's had the teleport advantage to create the extra pressure. And you can see, just looking at the mini-map, he's trying to pressure her off the turret and has done so successfully to make sure that he can secure first turret before this pressure with multiple members on the bottom side can actually try and get first turret. This is going to be first turret for Gnar, solo gold, already having his own 1v1 lead. This is going to be a lot of gold going into his pocket. That's 600 plus gold.
And that's awesome. For the Gnar. Great way to start the game, especially because we were talking about how their mid to late is going to be really good, but the early game is kind of lower in terms of what pressure can happen. Gnar definitely going to win out against the Fiora in the early part, but as a team, as a whole, way to get your stuff in there, getting the first turret and all that extra gold. Nice work.
So this should be a trade here of Dragon for Rift Herald. I think this goes in favor, honestly, of Stanford. They get the Rift Herald. They already have side lane pressure. If they can give Rift Herald over, it looks like they did give it to Zach. I think it's better to put it in.
Okay, now here is the engage. Not Tanner really wants to get the quickening onto Fidix, but it will not happen. So close. He did use Flash to try and get close enough, and it does not net them a kill.
No, it doesn't. I was saying that I don't think the better choice is to put this Rift Herald active onto Zach. I think it's better to give it over to Gnar so that Gnar can continue split pushing. Now you move him to the bottom side of the map. There's no dragon, so you don't have to worry about that. You want to be able to create more pressure around mid lane, and there's an outer turret to be taken at bottom lane. I think you summon Rift Herald as soon as Gnar's in position, and you let him push against this Fiora, especially if she doesn't rotate. She is, smartly so, rotating down to bottom lane, probably ready to answer what will be mirroring. Okay, so Gnar's walking top lane. I don't like this choice.
Ooh, but I like this one. The nice jump in. Oh, a perfect stopwatch there to stop the ultimate from Orianna. But now Zach is back in there. A lot of damage coming out of Bootless. And now Mr. PBH is going to go low, but so is Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai does go down. And then the Elastic Slingshot ready to come in. Block and the stun there from the Event Horizon. Now One Trick is there along with Not Tanner, and they're going to deal a lot of damage. Ignite down onto Fidix, and the HH Spanky does get the kill onto the Zac. Now Carlton Danks is in the mix. He's throwing boomerangs. Do they have the damage to continue this fight?
Mega Gnar could come up here, and he might want to look to reinitiate. He doesn't have Flash, but he does have his hop available, and of course, the Mega Gnar can create a massive fight advantage for you. He might be looking to catch Fiora in the river. Nope, just going to back off. Not enough vision, I think, to take that play. So.
Yeah, no, especially because you don't know who else is where. You only got Rek'Sai. Veigar managed to, make it back to the base, but I think it was outside of vision. So it was good on them to hold that engage. But now comes the split you were talking about. Gnar is heading toward the top. He is not in vision. There's the knock-up and all the damage from everybody. He is charmed because of the quickness. No, flash forward. Nidalee One Trick wants this kill, and he picks it up. Carlton Danks goes down 2v1.
Yeah, great setup there. Nice heads-up play here from Oregon to know that there's no vision there. They set up the Pank. They They make sure that they can catch that rotation out. I think it's a mistake for Stanford to be sending Carlton to top lane still. He has the advantage. He should be matching the 1v1 that he already has pressure in against Fiora, so he should be bottom lane. They should be matching the 2v2 with their own bottom lane and support into the top lane here, but they don't. They lose a death. Now onto the Gnar. He's lost his advantage because Fiora was getting free farm bottom. She's caught up in now total CS, and you lose the turret. So you kind of donate a little bit of a gold back over there if you're Stanford. Not enough to really make the difference, since you can see the gold lead's pretty close. Wow, nice engage.
He is going to bounce everybody in, and now Bot with my support gets killed by Dolce, and suddenly Carlton is there, flash away from Bootless, and Carlton unable to secure the further engage, but Clans from downtown landing that elastic slingshot on 2 of them. Really well done. Carlton goes into a rage of Mega Gnar. I would be upset myself. There's the Rift Herald. I don't know that this was quite the right spot. It won't take the turret down entirely, and it's going to run... Oh, no, it ignores the crowd control. Can't be stopped there.
Yeah, it will get stunned up on the other end of it, and as you can see, it's not going to take, as you mentioned, the full turret. Goes down a little bit there for the explosive shot. Just going to be one more auto. I don't think you can defend this here unless you're ready to defend without the turret being a part of it. Nice Event Horizon stops the engage.
And then it is comboed with Rakan's ultimate to get the charms, and Rek'Sai is there, gets a great knock-up. The ultimate from Spanky does follow all the way through and kills Tristana. Mr. PBH is really low, but there's a great shield coming out of Orianna. All the damage is still there. A shockwave takes down Not Tanner, but then a great root from the Xayah getting more kills. Fiora jumps in and picks one up herself onto the Gnar, and the ace in favor of Oregon. Fantastic team fight played out there from the Ducks.
Nice turnaround, and you know, Spanky somehow living through all of that, and nice use of the Event Horizon. You mentioned his ultimate, that Primordial Burst, just following Tristana a screen away to finish her off. That's going to be a 3-0-1. The name of the game here is the Scaling Vigar. He still has yet to fall. He does use... He has already used the stopwatch. We saw a great use of it.
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful.
Earlier, where he dodged out a lot of damage, including a shockwave. I guess it's on Spanky's shoulders now, because if they're not as simple, quote-unquote, of a composition as Stanford, then they have to play to their strengths. They've created their strengths for themselves. Props to them for doing so. But now it's up to Oregon to play around this Vigard, to play around the Xayah, who's now got a decent amount of crit chance, meaning she's going to be able to root people and chase them down in these fights. And you know what? I think Tanner's been doing his job too. He's been locking people down on this Rakan. But it's not so simple. It's 9-6 overall. You can see that the gold lead is still only about 2,000. If that's the case, if it's only 2,000 at 21 minutes, 22 now, that's not enough to say we can just start a Baron whenever we want.
No, of course not. And now, especially this positioning here, Clans wants to get a good knock up there, but Not Tanner gets one too. He is pulled in from the stretching strike, and Clans is taking so much damage. In comes the quickening. He is unstoppable to jump away with the Let's Bounce, but he is ignited. Now Mr. PBH is the target, knocked up by Rek'Sai. Fidix wants to go in? I don't think so.
No.
He does turn away, but now that is going to be 4 members plus a minion wave to come up on this top turret. Fidix taking a couple of auto attacks, dodges out the Event Horizon barely, and now Dolce around the side here is spotted out by Spanky, getting tons of damage here on this turret. They're going to disengage here. I think that this is wise. Fiora is still on the bot side. Clans has the ball from Orianna. He doesn't go in. Just staying here ready to take down this turret.
A little ill-advised try at a catch there. They didn't have the actual damage members of their team on the wing for Stanford when they tried to catch Xayah and Rakan. The turn was pretty good from Xayah and Rakan. They go for that fight. But at this point, you can see, oh my goodness, nice dodge!
Perfect dodge. And now comes Zach. He doesn't have an ultimate. He has to flash away. That's a great route from Xayah. No more engage coming from Stanford now. Fiora dodges out and goes and takes the Drake while Gnar answers the split push. Fantastic macro play here coming out of Oregon right now.
Yeah, and a couple steps behind, honestly, for Stanford. They drafted really well, but they're not playing to those strengths. Their strengths is meant to be in their overall 5v5 team fight, but if you look for those fights before you have all your members there, you're going to use your key spells and not have them for when you are grouped up. You mentioned how Zach didn't have his ultimate when he got a nice re-engage near that turret, but if he doesn't have Let's Bounce because he used it earlier, well, there's nothing doing, and he forces his own flash to get back out of that fight. But I also want to point out that one of the struggles here for Stanford is showing through once again, which is lack of wave clear anywhere that doesn't include Orianna. When she wasn't there and Tristana was the only one left near the turret for a little bit, the wave crashes and they get a lot of damage on the turret. If she has Static Shiv, that wave's gone like that.
And there
it's
it
gone
is.
in an instant. It finally comes out now, but can you imagine what the story would have been in terms of turret pushing capability if Stanford had have completed that item earlier on Tristana?
Oh, yeah.
I think it would have been a little bit different, a lot of it different, to be honest. And so I need to see now Stanford, who are not playing poorly in like a huge degree, what they need to be doing is just playing better to their strengths. Stop getting ahead of themselves and take a deep breath. Ask themselves, what are our win conditions? Remind themselves that they drafted a very superior team fight composition, all other things considered, and before gold leads get absolutely out of hand in favor of Oregon, they need to take the fights in the way that they've designed their team composition to do it. Without that, then the play that Oregon's been doing and doing well is going to serve them up their first win in this best of 3.
Absolutely. And just the control that these guys have. They knew that they had the weaker team fight comp, and yet they're keeping up the pressure in the side lane. Fiora should not be winning that split push against Gnar. Gnar should be winning that. I mean, later now, you have the lifesteal coming from the Hydra. You both have Black Cleavers. It's going to be relatively even, but Gnar has range advantage and the amount of crowd control in the Mega Gnar form. You can't keep letting this Fiora split push, and especially because the rest of the map is not winning in response. So Stanford has to pick that up. You're right. Get your win condition going. Get the team fights, all the 5v5, all of it. Fiora has no way to stop a teleport. It's that simple. And unless you're Mega Gnar, you don't have a way to stop her from teleporting either. So it's just this locked-in battle on the sides. But both of those champions are key to the team fight of both of these teams.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I like the draft from both these teams. They're just different play styles. I just need to see Stanford playing to their win conditions as well as Oregon is playing to theirs, if they have any hope of bringing this back. And it is close. There is definitely hope there. It's only a 3,000 gold lead. 2,500 is closer to that mark. And you need to see Stanford looking to engage properly. And they're doing, I would say they're doing their best to try and get there at this point. They're trying to clear out the vision. They're trying to make sure that they have vision of at least their own jungle, trying to deny vision so that Zach can engage from Fog of War. That can be followed up by multiple members, and that they have at least some sort of positional advantage for Gnar to be able to teleport in somewhere. You mentioned neither one of these champions, generally speaking, can cancel each other's teleports from the side lane. If that's the case, then you're hoping, whichever team you're rooting for, you're hoping that you have a flank ward or some sort of deep ward to teleport into so that you can get a nice flank off with either Fiora or Gnar, depending on which team you're rooting for. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking at this minimap. I'm saying that's a nice ward at the top of the river there for Stanford, because if the Baron happens, that's a nice flank for the Gnar to come in on, and it's generally going to be off the screen. You might not even see it coming if you're not watching your minimap if you're a member of Oregon. And then, of course, Oregon has that nice one that's going to time out shortly that's just over the wall of that near mid lane. That's the kind of ward that you also want to see for Oregon, because that's where Fiora could it's just been replaced there, as you can see the timer on it. You want to see that ward there for as long as possible, because then if you're fighting in the river near where all those pinks are in the river near Baron, if that's where the next fight is going to happen, that's a beautiful ward for Fiora to show up on. That's what this game is going to come down to, is the next team fight and the positioning of these teleports.
Absolutely. And now we can see the quick positioning of the Fiora. As long as she hits something with that lunge, with the Q, its cooldown gets really, really low. And with the Black Cleaver giving 20% cooldown reduction, it's going to be up every 2 to 3 seconds. So able to dodge the boomerangs, able to match it, able to get the hit points back with the Vital Procs, and also with that Ravenous Hydra, really answering the split push that should be completely in favor of Carlos Danks. So if Oregon wants a fight,
now is the time to do it. Mega Gnar is timing out. Fiora has full vision of it, and she's in a position. This is where Oregon needs to force a fight, either on Orianna, who's alone, or on the members here in the river, because Fiora can show up and put a lot more pressure into a fight than a miniature Gnar. So I wanted to see that happen. It doesn't happen. It's going to be just a little bit longer for Gnar to be able to get back to Mega. But you can see, in mini form, he has all of the pressure advantage in the 1v1.
In the 1v1, yeah, because in Mega Gnar form, you don't get the max hit point shred that you do in the mini. Unfortunate miss there. Clan's not landing the slingshot or the stretching strike. Feels bad.
Okay, Mega Gnar's back, though, and that means that he's able to show up to these fights. Dragon's next on the table, and they might go for that as well. Nice engage by Zach.
There's the knockup onto everybody, and then the ultimate from Orianna, but on the side, Nidalee One Trick is there. There's a jump in from Rakan, getting all of the charms. Clans is going to go down next. A perfect route on the 4 people. Nidalee One Trick is nearly untouched, and the Primordial Burst is what chunks out the Gnar. Flash away from the Xayah. Shut down for Fidix against her. Clans is almost dead as well. Suddenly, that's a 2-for-4 trade in favor of Stanford. Beautiful team fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure about these pings on the way to Baron. The Warmogs is available, but there's not enough health here on the damage dealers to actually remain in the pit. And Veigar, with one nice W here, could actually just like delete people. So this is a little scary to do. You can see Veigar doesn't have summoner spells to get in there, but neither does Tristana or Zach here to reposition. And Orianna is kind of in a scary spot. She has her cleanse available, but I imagine with the AP available on this Veigar, 1Q does it.
Oh my gosh, you weren't kidding. And so Spanky is now in a 1v2. All he needs is a hit onto Fidix, but that is a 1-for-1 trade, stopping the Baron. Well done there from Spanky, getting the kill onto Dolce and stopping the Baron.
Stopping the Baron, but also Tristana has to heal back up before she could even take a fight. There's a small window of opportunity for Oregon to consider going for the Baron, but I imagine they just go for the Dragon really quickly while everybody's resetting. Bottom lane is pushing in to Oregon, so you want Fiora to be able to match that, but then you don't have your teleport. I don't think Baron's going to be something either of these teams is really considering for a while.
All right, looks like the engage does come in. Clans get a great everything. All 3 of his spells land. Nidalee One Trick is on the backside. It gets 2 out of the 3 kills so far. Carlton Danks does manage to get the blast cone. There's a knockup from bot with my support. Carlton Danks makes it out alive, but that was the opposite of what should have happened in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really good engage from the Zac, but there just wasn't damage nearby. Orianna was still responding. Tristana was top lane. You can't really look for those fights at all. We've talked about this time and time again. Stanford, you can't look for these fights if your damage champions aren't there. And Nart doesn't count. He's mostly just health and shred. You can't actually expect him to carry the damage portion of a team fight like you need Tristana there. And Tristana's strong. Don't get me wrong. There's not a losing battle here in a 5v5 just because Stanford was behind.
But there was the root and the Primordial Burst to instantly take down the Gnar. Dolce is the next target, does pop the Zhonya's, and that's another free kill. They're just trying to go in 2 at a time, 3 at a time, but that's a full 5-man squad from Oregon ready to intercept that engage. Now you're missing one of your damage dealers. You're missing one of your huge team fighters in the Gnar. I hope they don't go for it again.
Yeah, I mean, a decent shockwave happened from Orianna in that fight, but it's not enough to turn things around. Again, you don't have your whole team there. You need your front line to initiate and your damage dealers to actually deal damage. You can't do that if everybody's in random places and not actually on the same page. That's the 2nd time in a row now that they've taken disadvantaged fights, you know, less numbers, or I should say fewer numbers, where they're not actually able to take those fights at all, and you just end up donating kills over. If that's the case, you need to rethink your strategy here. You need to be playing champions that are closer to what Oregon is playing, which are the duelist style champions that even if you get caught, you might be able to trade 1-for-1. That's not true here. Even for Orianna or Tristana, if you're caught in a 1v1 against most of these champions, they either get away or they kill you. And that's not just because of the gold lead, which again is still only around 2,000. It's simply because those champions are meant to duel. They're not meant to team fight. Yours are meant to team fight together, so be together.
666 ability power on Spanky right now. That's high. especially because we're just barely at 33. He only has 3 completed items. It's going to get higher and higher. 600. Ooh, wow, but that crit was brutal.
This is the late game scaling of Tristana, and that's why the team composition of Stanford is actually really, really scary, because despite being down a couple thousand gold, their team fight potential is massive. You can get the shockwave combos off with the Gnar ultimate. You can get it off with Let's Bounce. All of the combo and AoE team fighting to keep things in a position for Tristana to DPS down people with the crits you just saw is precisely what they're looking for. If that doesn't happen, there's no real win condition for Stanford, because there's not any single member of their team that can actually take a fight in any sort of 1v1, in any sort of 2v2. It's generally going to be Tristana, backline, melting people down. Because, I mean, look at the inventories here of the quasi frontline. Unfortunate you lose a side member there. That's really good for Stanford, not so good for Oregon. We'll see if they start a fight here. I'll shut up if they do, but okay, it looks like they will.
They will. They do get the stun there, but Fidix burns the QSS really early. That means the next time he gets hit, he's going to be stunned.
They have the inside track, though, onto mid. They choose not to go for that. Instead, going to probably prioritize that vision around Baron. But what I was talking about is the quote-unquote front line here from Oregon is actually pretty squishy. I mean, where's the armor? Where's the health? They start off the Baron. This is not in vision. Now you can see 80 carry shows up, and that's going to be an engage from Rakan.
Oh, Rakan does get a great taunt into everybody, but Zaya deals so much damage, gets the root called back, but not Tanner goes down. Primordial Burst does hit someone, but there are still 5 alive. Nidalee One Trick needs to be careful. He goes down. Clans helps pick that one up, and that is the team fight from Stanford.
Fiora.
There comes the teleport from Fiora, but the ball does stop any further aggression. They are all really low. No, ultimate is up, but we just watched Fiora lose the 1v1 to Carlton Danks. Does not want to go in there and lose a 1v4. Needs to be really careful here, dodging out the Mega Gnar. Maybe with Spanky's help, they can get it. There's a stun. Bootless gets a kill there. That's another kill. That's 2 for nothing. There's a Buster Shot to try and knock her out. Flash forward. All of the damage now onto Fidix. One more auto attack should do it. No, the flash away. Bootless goes down. Fidix is playing out of his mind.
Okay, a 2 for 2 there on a team that's going to get Baron is actually okay. I know it seems kind of crazy. You're like, why would you go in? That's kind of insane. But if you're going to lose the Baron, no matter what, it's better, I think, to trade 2 lives when everybody's going to be resetting during the death timers anyway to get Baron off of 2 members, especially people like Orianna and Gnar. Gnar now won't have the Baron buff for split pushing, and of course, that the Orianna will not have the bonus stats from the Baron buff.
Yeah, exactly. As one of your heavy damage dealers, plus getting, it's going to give you ability power, which means it's going to make your shield even stronger. All of those kind of things. Great to get it off of those 2. Really fantastic play, too, from Spanky and Bootless, trying to stop it. Got really close, almost got them, just Tristana able to jump one too many times and had her flash available.
Yeah, and now we're at the point where the 2,000 gold lead is now in favor of Stanford. They get themselves the Baron and a few kills on top of it. There's the next dragon is spawning now. This is going to be the Elder Dragon, and this could be a triple Elder buff for Oregon or just a small-time one for Stanford. I don't even think you try this as Stanford. There's not actually much to be gained by you getting the dragon, and a lot to be lost if it gets stolen or you lose a fight here. You have Baron. Just go bottom, push that out. Don't even risk losing an Elder Dragon here. In fact, if they want to go for Elder Dragon, you just take a couple of turrets, or you just turn it on them because you have the superior vision control. Props on them for getting superior vision. Now they get the turret. They have the inside track and bottom lane. Cut them off here. Don't let them fight. The only problem now for Stanford is that
Orianna's in the backside. Now there's the event horizon. It is not going to hit anybody. Clans wants to go in. It's not quite ready. Orianna does show up into the lane just now. Carlton Danks doing good frontline duty here, throwing out those boomerangs, trying to get some poke down. A lot of damage onto Not Tanner. Fidix helping that one out. Zach is ready to jump in. Does not make it happen, but all of this Baron minion damage plus the explosive shot from Fidix. Carlton Danks throws the clock tower and deals some damage. There is not really good wave clear here on the side of Oregon. A lot of damage now going to hit. That's a whole quarter of Clan's hit points from 2 spells on Spanky. But again, just the amount of siege damage they have. There's the ult from Rakan, and finally the shutdown onto Tristana. And now Fiora is in the front lines trying to deal all of the damage. She is probably going to go down. Dodges out the damage. Unstoppable for the jump. Let's Bounce is there, but he gets knocked up by Rakan. This is the fight that Stanford needed to win, and Oregon is taking them apart.
Yeah, I mean, Fidix there on the front line, Tristana making a really poor choice in positioning there. You already got the turret. As soon as the turret is down, you just need to take the slow and steady fight. And now it could be an Elder Dragon almost certainly going over here to Oregon. What happened was, and I'd love to get us a replay here on your screen for it, is Fidix steps forward, and yes, he knows that he can get kind of caught, and he is relying on having his QSS, his Mikiro Scimitar, make the difference, but it doesn't do enough for him, because as soon as he actually QSS's the stun from Event Horizon, he gets knocked up from the Rakan, and that's going to turn out Fiora, though.
The complete outplay there, knowing that they were going to get the Elder Drake, goes in, gets the riposte to stop the damage for the backup kill, and picks it up on Orianna. Unfortunate that Carlton Danks does show up there and stop that aggression, but now no more Baron buffs. No, you didn't even get the inhibitor on the bottom side, and now there's an Elder Drake on 4 members of Oregon right now. You don't want to fight them.
No, you really don't. They've got the triple buff. That's a lot of true damage burn from any ability that lands, and you can already see that there's a lot more damage in total that Oregon can put out than Stanford can in these team fights if they're played explosively, right? If you get the fights that Stanford has designed their team composition to do, which is the AoE lockdown and Tristana damage, essentially, and of course, Orianna keeping people close, then that should go pretty well for Stanford. But otherwise, it's the vision control and the picks that can come through for Oregon where they can just like burst someone out. What better champion to have for that than Vigar, who's now 6-2 and 8. He's got enough CDR. He's got like his build right now is built to burst a single target from 100 to 0, no questions asked. The death cap for bonus AP, he already has enough from his passive to be just scary. And the Luden's Echo is a lot more single target damage than you might consider because you're always going to take the Luden's proc if you're the target. And then Void Staff, just in case you happen to have MR to deal with him. And then enough CDR to have the Event Horizons where he needs them. And he's building more CDR to make sure that he has all of his spells up. A couple fights ago, we saw his Primordial Burst hit Tristana, who was full health, for half of her health. When it's supposed to deal most of its damage as an execute based on missing health.
Oh, speaking of damage, there's the charm from Rakan, and Spanky immediately takes down Fidix. They decide to go in. Clans went in unadvisedly. Oh, great Gnar and Shockwave there. So much damage, so much crowd control, but it looks like Vagar does come out with a double kill. The Grand Challenge does get the healing for Oregon as a team. They haven't lost anybody yet. They're going to take this turret, and they're going to keep on with the fight. Bootless is almost down. Makes it out alive. Dolce does as well, but holy moly guacamole, that was a great fight for Oregon.
Jeez, just catching the Tristana once again. I mean, if she's the damage threat, she's who you need to actually focus. You need to respect the pick potential a lot more. There's the GA down from the Rek'Sai, but can she fight at all? No Shockwave available.
No Shockwave. Not a lot of good damage here. I think they're just going to take the win, and there it is. Oregon wanting to end this game, get out of these team fights that they were losing so often, coming back super strong, just like they did last week. Fantastic gameplay from Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, really nice playing to their strengths. Even though it was up, what, 27 or so to like 15 in kills or something like that. I didn't catch it at the very end, but even though it seems like a lot more kills and a couple of Barons, right, were traded back and forth, there was only a 6,000 gold difference.
Yeah.
6,000. That's like nothing in the late game. It's essentially nothing. We were 42 or so minutes into the match. When that's such a close match, it's the smallest things that make the biggest difference because the death timers are so long. So with Tristana dying on the front end of 2 separate fights, back-to-back, that's going to spell defeat here for Stanford. But they look strong.
They definitely
look strong. Their draft looks strong. Oregon looks on point. I mean, they're playing to their strengths as well.
Yep.
We just need to see a little bit cleaner play from Stanford, and I absolutely believe that they can take it to Game 3.
I agree. And with that, Let's go ahead and take a break here. Get ready for Game 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more PACG action between Stanford and Oregon.
And welcome back, fellow gamers. We're now about to get into our second game of our second match of the evening. This is Week 2, Day 1 of the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers League of Legends Spring Tournament. This is our second match of the day. This is Stanford University versus the University of Oregon. You just saw earlier today Washington take on Washington
State and Arizona.
Yes. Washington State University and Arizona, University of Arizona. You just saw, now on your screen, you can see today's matches. Washington State taking that victory in 3 games.
Yes.
So it was a 2-1 overall. And then, of course, Oregon now is up 1-0 in the match against Stanford. Best of 3, we're into game 2. But they do have 1 win on the board overall of a match win that they took earlier against Colorado last week.
Yeah, and this next game, I'm expecting to be overly exciting. The last one we watched was just, it was back and forth the whole time, win condition, team fight all over the place. And just taking a look here at the game and match scores for both of these teams and getting your lineups back up here, very exciting. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, and as these lineups are on your screen, you can see for Oregon, in the top lane, you got Boodle Stritton with a convincing victory there on Fiora, coming back from an early deficit, getting ahead near the end, contributing to the team fight. Bot with my support, playing really well on that Rek'Sai, his favorite champion. And then H8 Spanky, some convincing Vigar play, stacking up into that late game, putting out a lot of damage. Nidalee one trick, doing his job on 80 carry, paired up Zaya Rakan in that bottom lane from the last game with Not Tanner. Support for his team.
Stanford picking up their lineup. Carlton Danks looking really dapper on that Gnar, getting great pushes and the first blood. Let's give him that. Clans playing out of his mind with Engage on the Zac in the jungle. And then Dolce Pooncake with the Orianna in the mid. Fidix and Mr. PBH filling out the bot lane. Doing really well with that Tristana later on in the game. Just blowing things up, but wasn't in the cards.
Nope, it was not in the cards for them. They fell behind a little bit and struggled to find their footing as it got later and later into the game. Messed up a couple of fights in a row at the end, and then that just snowballed into their Nexus exploding in favor of Oregon. So we're going to get into Game 2 in just a few minutes here, but let's talk a little bit more about the win conditions for Stanford that weren't met and what Oregon did well to secure their win.
So the first thing you said was, what was Stanford's win condition? That was team fight.
Yeah.
5v5 team fight.
That's the key.
That's the key. It wasn't
5v5.
4v4. It wasn't 3v3. It had to be all 5 because you had champions like Gnar, unrivaled in team fight power with that Mega Gnar. No one else can handle it.
Yeah.
Zac getting the Let's Bounce. Orianna getting great shockwaves. It's all AoE. And then Tristana just pounding in the back line. And then you got this almost invincible Alistar. That's the 5 that you need to take into the fight. Without that, you're not quite there on your win.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd at least have liked to have seen them barely taking at least 4-man fights.
Yeah.
It seemed that whenever they got a sneaky engage out of vision onto some priority members of Oregon, that neither Orianna nor Tristana were anywhere to be seen. And it wasn't just like, oh, well, now you blame them for not being where they're supposed to be. No, they were where they were supposed to be. They were clearing waves that were necessary to get the pressure for them to actually then group and fight. You take those initiations too early, you lose your key spells like Let's Bounce, and now you don't have that for any sort of actual team fight with multiple members there. So you have to see Stanford being a little bit smarter about their engage tools if they go for a similar style of composition. And if you're Oregon, you keep playing to your strengths. You play scaling damage, massive burst damage in your mid lane that Spanky's used to playing. He's comfortable playing. Even Corky fits that kind of stuff.
Yes, he does.
And then you play the duelists that we've seen success for Oregon in the top lane, and junglers that are willing to be semi-aggressive as well. It's just the aggressive, take your skirmishes play style that we're used to seeing from Oregon last week, and we've seen more of today to their success. And
it even filters down into the bot lane. Because that Rakan Zaya was amazing to watch. That level one, it freaked me. I mean, if Fidix didn't kind of cough a little bit in surprise, I don't know what would have happened. It just, like, seriously, it blew up. Get the knock-up and all that extra damage from Zaya. And those are the conditions there. Oregon wants to be aggressive. They want to start the fights, and especially knowing that their 5v5 was a little bit worse, the only time they really won a 5v5 was when they had the Elder Drake. All the other times they kind of went even-ish or lost, quote unquote lost, where they had one extra member go down or something like that, blow too many summoner spells. But they understood that if it was ever less than the 5v5, that they could win.
Yeah.
Because they just had that damage and they had that aggression that they could use.
Yeah, and to be honest, there's the Tristana getting a massive CS advantage at one point. It kind of leveled out near the end, but having the core items is Tristana. Lots of crit damage, lots of attack speed. I did criticize the early build path of it, but it ended up working, and the team fight damage was there. You saw like a single auto attack at the before an actual flat-out 5v5 fight. You see if she gets one of those rapid-fire cannon procs onto any squishy target, that did it literally half of the health from Xayah, which was the equivalent of hitting Primordial Burst on a full health Tristana that we saw in an earlier fight.
Yeah.
So if you can do the damage of a late-game Veigar ult with a single auto attack on a squishy target, you know that you're in a position to win some team fights if you just are in the right places at the right time and you don't get caught by stuff. Unfortunately, the story was getting caught, even with QSS, and QSS can't save you from everything.
No.
It only is going to cleanse away one sort of crowd control or whatever crowd control is on you in that exact moment, and then you have to have Flash or Rocket Jump already ready to go, and you have to reposition immediately after you QSS. The first time she got caught in that late game situation was near that bottom lane. And yes, it was a really very quick QSS on the original crowd control, but she didn't have Flash to immediately reposition, and Rakan was right there to follow up with a knock-up into more and more and more lockdown, and of course damage to just delete the Tristana. And then just too much damage happened underneath the tier 2 on the bottom side later on. So it just ends up being the story for Stanford was they had the tools necessary, they were kind of slow to get there, and then they just weren't putting those pieces together in the right spot. And then as close to they got as to putting that puzzle together, then it's like flipping the table on yourself, and you just let the pieces fly everywhere. So a little bit more disciplined play should bring them a victory, honestly, because their draft, while Oregon's draft was by no means bad, it played to their strengths. The meta, as it stands right now, heavily favors what Stanford drafted. They just need to play it a little bit better, and I think they should get a win for free. I
agree. And, really unfortunate with the Tristana. You already brought it up, but why are you going that close? Tristana is one of the highest range auto attackers in the game. You're going to deal the damage whether you're close or not, and maybe just relying too much on the crowd control, saying there's no way they can move and everything like that. But like you said, the meta is in that way. That was a perfect meta team comp. You had Gnar, it's an effective fighter, huge team fighter, Zac with great initiation, amazing damage, like you mentioned, from Tristana, engaged from Alistar, and Orianna staying alive.
Yeah, and it wasn't really sloppy play from Stanford. It was just not quite as picture-perfect and precision as they needed it to be. Because, I mean, I even started eating my words later on where I was saying, nobody on Stanford, because of this gold disadvantage and all this kind of stuff, nobody on Stanford can take a 1v1. And it was not 60 seconds later that Gnar got a solo kill on the Fiora. And, we didn't mention it at the time, but I was sitting here thinking, okay, well, Stanford's turning things around, and this is really good news for them. They just need more of the same. And Gnar to press that advantage, or them to take the fights that they're designed to take, especially if they have a numbers advantage. But for whatever reason, when it came to grouping up and fighting as multiple numbers, they were always at a numbers disadvantage.
Now, I want to say that that's not necessarily their fault. I want to give credit to that to Oregon for setting up waves.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did.
Especially top lane.
Yeah. They would kill a minion wave and group. Kill a minion wave and group. And they were always right there between the Drake and the mid lane. That was their most common spot to be. You could see it. Fiora would go shove that wave and come back, or Veigar would go push the top one and come back. And you just let that sit for 20, 30 seconds, and then suddenly, boom, those are pushing. So you have to split and you have to go stop them. And when you do that, the only two champions who can are your damage dealers.
Yep, they're the only ones with really wave clear. I think that was another problem that Stanford have. It's something you can rectify probably with your draft more or your build path. I mentioned the static Shiv Rush as a big important part of Tristana. That aside, though, you can look for maybe a better wave clearing top laner or a jungler that can contribute. It's kind of hard to set up. You have to put a lot of forethought into that kind of drafting. Or you have to be a lot more precise about playing to those strengths. You mentioned you have to make sure that you're never taking the fights when you send either Orianna or Tristana to shove a wave, and that when the waves are shoved, you're looking for the engages because you have so many engage tools. Alistar, Gnar, Zac, even like...
Even Orianna's ult.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you ball combo? You could potentially, if you had like stopwatch, I'm just going crazy here because we're waiting on the teams, but I mean, heaven forbid you just have Tristana Rocket jump into 5 members and hit a stopwatch when he has a ball on him, and you just like 5-man shockwave, and then you like flash out or something and you start melting people. But I mean, there are a million ways that you could possibly engage if you're Stanford, if you're actually grouped and ready to fight, and it just never really happened for them.
No,
so
not really.
Only so much you can say that we've already really said. For the draft, what I want to see is a clear-cut strategy for Oregon. Even though they took that win, it was not as convincing as, say, their Game 2 last week.
No, not at all.
So I want to see more aggressive drafting, and by that I mean I want to be able to tell precisely what they want to do with their early to mid game. And even though you're like, wait, why would you want to be able to tell? That probably means that Stanford can tell. No, it's because I want you to draft to a win condition that you can easily snowball if you win it. And then I want to see you nonstop going towards that. So if you're going to say, oh, we want our win condition to be Vigar, then I want to see you living mid lane with not only just your jungler, get that flash early or something like that.
I want support up there.
Yeah, get your support to roam. If you get the Alistar from them, then you can be the one to show up there, or a number of other champions, or even bring down Fiora. Bring down your top laner and have them gank around the other path. If they can push up and wave clear out and get their matchup underneath their turret, then you walk through Tribrush, you walk around the Baron Pit, assuming this is blue side, you walk around the Baron Pit and you come around, you gank from a really, really scary position for the enemy mid laner, and if you can get some single member massively ahead and you just play to that one champion, that's the easiest way to win early game into mid game League of Legends and translate that into a late game win if it has to go that far.
Now, I agree with you, but I'm going to change the role that they need to do that. It needs to be the AD carry.
Does it? Why? Tell me.
We watched Oregon play against Colorado, and that's where their first disadvantage came. It was the Kalista into the Varus. And Kalista just went ham and nailed that guy. But then later on, Varus was the one. This guy, this Nidalee One Trick, was the one who turned that entire game around from an 8,000 gold deficit into an almost 10,000 gold lead. And then the next game, it did the exact same thing. Just destroyed it all. And then even this past game, Xayah had the most kills, probably the least deaths, and just really, really impacted every single team fight.
I wouldn't be surprised if she dealt even significantly more damage than Vigar.
Yeah.
You think of Vigar as a massive damage champion, and he absolutely is, but he can't hit multiple people all at the same time unless they happen to be precisely in those small areas. And when they're in those small areas, yes, he's going to hit them with a couple of spells, but Xayah's going to be auto-attacking with crits ripping through your whole freaking team. And then, of course, bringing the Fellers back to stun people up does a lot of damage. It's a lot more damage than people realize. Yeah. It's not just a crowd control spell.
No, and so that's what I think. I think you are exactly right. When you draft your win condition on a certain lane and then play to the lane. But if you're going to pick one, I really think that bot lane. Because Nidalee One Trick might be a Nidalee One Trick, but has shown amazing skill on the Xayah and the Varus from the games that we've seen him play.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think focusing the bottom lane can do a lot for you now. The mid lane's kind of quiet. Would you like to see Xayah and Rakan come through again, or did you like, say, the Ezreal Janna that we saw last week?
So, I enjoy seeing Xayah Rakan played, but if I were a Stanford fan, I would not. It doesn't matter which one. Take one of them away, and just all those extra things that they get in the relationship between the two. There are, extra range on the jumps from Rakan, extra damage from Xayah, the synchronized backing. I think it's just a little too much, and especially if that is their win condition, which we saw happen, and anybody listening here would know. I don't want to see it. I want to see that adaptation from Stanford. But then at the same time, what if you are Stanford and know about the Ezreal Janna? Do you ban that instead? Personally, I want to see that adaptation from Stanford where they take at least one of those away and either pick or ban the Janna as well, so that neither one of those can really be theirs.
Well, I guess we'll get our answers in just a moment. Here we're going to get right into Champion Select on your screen now. This is Stanford versus Oregon in their second match second game, excuse me, of this match this evening. Best of 3. So this could be match point for Oregon if they end up taking this win. Let's see those first bans coming through in just a moment. You say you want to see bot lane focus here for Oregon. I say I want to see better execution of a similar composition for Stanford. We'll see how it comes out. Stanford banning out the Kazakhs. It's one of their first 2 bans from last game too, so we'll have to see how things go out. First ban, same once again for Oregon. Gangplank comes through.
I think that that's really smart. Again, we saw the effectiveness of the Gnar into the Fiora and everything. It's all about getting rid of the unfamiliar or uncomfortable matchups. And so I'm liking all of these bans. And there it is. There's our Rakan ban that we were just talking about. It doesn't matter that you ban both, but you need to ban at least one. And so I like it. I like seeing that on that side.
You know, but I don't think it's a terrible pick for Nidalee One Trick here to still pick a Xayah if he so chooses. I saw really beautiful play from him on that champion. He was ripping through people with the damage necessary. His CS was great, and his use of his ultimate was perfect. Every single time, dodging key spells to keep himself healthy and alive. Not just keep him alive and keep him from not dying at the last second there, but keeping him healthy, too, to remain in the fights. And I must be right, because Oregon here not able to pick it up. Stanford says, we'll take it.
So now it's interesting here. Someone might say, well, why would you ban the Rakan if you're going to pick the Xayah? The thing is you're on blue side. You can't pick 2. And so I like the answer here. Bootless going to grab the Gnar. So it's, okay, you'll take our AD carry. Okay, we'll take your split pushing top laner. And so it's really interesting to see how this this draft has... Oh, and hey, look at that. That's going to be a Tristana lock-in, too. It's just going to be a trade of champions for a little bit.
For a little bit, indeed. Remember, that was Stanford who had... last game, they had the Tristana and the Gnar, and now they trade over Tristana and Gnar in exchange for the Xayah. So they think the Xayah was the key to victory, or at least one of the keys that are necessary to take away. The Rakan was banned out by Stanford, but they still take Xayah away. Taric left up, normally a champion you do see banned. Cosmic Radiance, I dare say, can do just as much, if not more, for you if used properly in a team fight than the Quickening can.
Oh, definitely. If you can get even 2 allies with it, get 3 invulnerable people, it is so obnoxious to try and fight that. And there's more... It's the most annoying thing about Taric is that Cosmic Radiance, but there's so much more to that champion. Being able to have that linear stun in lane, that means it's not single target. It can hit multiple people, especially if your carry is locked in with you and knowing exactly how to position. But I like the Skarner pick as well. It's going to be that that aggression, not quite as far range as the Zac was, but going to be just about as good in team fights, especially if you're on one of his pillars.
Answered, though, by Oregon here. Spanky is the one that locks in for Oregon the Morgana, where Black Shield can completely nullify the engage potential from the Skarner. If used properly, it's a lot harder than you'd think. It's not just, I'm going to throw this Black Shield on someone and now we win a team fight. It's you have to time it so perfectly. Otherwise, there's no reason Skarner would just press R on someone who has this purple bubble around them for a couple of seconds. No, you need to time it perfectly to bait the Skarner into ulting someone who then you put the Black Shield on right before the animation comes through. So a lot more difficult than you would think. But a good pick, of course, because it has that capability. So now we see the bans being completed. Vigar banned away from Spanky. Respect there. And of course, Orianna, one of his top picks as well. So 2 bans now against the mid laner. And that's what they have left is the mid lane and their jungle. So mostly mid lane and jungle bans from Stanford. There's going to be the Jarvan who does make it through. He still is extremely strong in this meta. We'll see what the 2 last picks here are for Stanford. And then, of course, the final counter pick for Oregon for mid lane. I mean, we'll see what Spanky has up his sleeve because, I mean, what else is left?
You know what? I don't even really know. I have this really weird feeling that it... Oh, hello. That's exciting. The weird feeling was not that, but Urgot. Urgot coming in the top lane. That's going to be really exciting. Oh my gosh.
Got to be kidding
me.
That's
beautiful.
You know, this champion is actually really, really strong. He has a little bit more of a punishing matchup against Gnar, insofar as he's still gonna suffer as many would in a melee versus ranged matchup. Melee-esque in the Urgot here, but it's that if Gnar messes up, Urgot can punish it, I would say, a lot harder than, say, a Fiora can. And he is a little bit better at dealing with the poke because he has his own shield that Gnar puts out. Urgot's a little bit better than Fiora at dealing with that. So a little bit better of a matchup, I would say, for top lane. And then, of course, Dolce ends up locking in the Kassadin, which will get answered by Taliyah.
I like the pick. I think Taliyah is a really strong, kind of underestimated champion right now. We talk about how the mid lane is supposed to be, or rather not supposed to be, but has become this kind of passive place where all you need to do is not die. Your jungler is going to put the attention where it needs to go, but you need to be able to roam and assist whatever side your jungler decides needs the help. And so the likes of Taliyah with that Weaver's Wall, Aurelion Sol with that E, just being able to jump all over the place, Galio with his ultimate, those are the types of things that kind of make mid lane more important in the meta. So Kassadin won't really be able to follow the Weaver's Wall. And on the opposite side, once Kassadin is gone, Taliyah has the ability with that threaded volley to just shove the wave and then look and know where to go and get the counter gank.
She definitely has the shove potential massively in her advantage over Kassadin early and even later on. There's not really a lot of wave clear from Kassadin. Remember that last game, wave clear was a problem for Stanford. It's not terrible for them this match. Most of it's going to be, once again, from the AD carry. It's going to be that Xayah. And while Kassadin can kind of help, the only other one who has like semi-wave clear is going to be
Urgot.
Yeah, the Urgot, but he has to kind of be there. And that's scary, especially if you're standing forward trying to clear a wave and they have a Morgana. You're going to be a sad puppy. So I want to see how this plays out. In terms of just team composition, I'm sad to say, because I would love a Game 3, but I'm sad to say it looks like Oregon took it this time.
Yeah.
They have a lot better early game with the possibility of level 6 gank from Taliyah. Jarvan is going to be a lot stronger in gank potential, I should be careful to say, in gank potential early on, because Skarner's going to win your duels in the jungle.
Oh, for sure.
But he's going to have a lot more pressure on lanes in the early game, this Jarvan over that of Skarner. And then top lane could go either way. It just depends on how they play it. Similar to the Fiora matchup, generally, Gnar is just still super strong right now, but he can fall to some things. And if Gnar presses his advantage too much, you can see Skarner showing up and making a huge difference there. And if you get a massive Urgot, how many of you out there have played ARAM and never seen an Urgot get too strong? I'll tell you right now, it's never fun. It's never, ever fun to play against an Urgot who has like 3 completed items and you only have like 1 or 2. It's a sad time. It's a bad time.
I had the displeasure of actually landing against an Urgot in one of my placement games.
Yeah.
I decided to pick Poppy, try and stop his charge
Yep.
and negate some of that damage. And when they locked it in, my teammate said, "Poppy, do not let that guy get fed. Go make him go 0-8 in lane." And I was like, I don't know if I can actually do that. So, and that's what I said. I'll do my best. And then when my jungler came to gank after telling me that, actually fed him a couple kills. And oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever fought anything as terrifying as a fed Urgot.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Even his VO like scares the heck out of you.
Oh my gosh.
It's a storm, man.
Yeah.
You're like, I know. You don't gotta tell me twice, dude. I'm just trying to CS here, and I can't even remember to roll.
The fan. Oh my goodness. The visual effects on that ultimate literally scare me. Dude, yeah. Every time you get hit, you see those chains just kind of cover your screen. And you're just like, why? It's scary.
Yeah, the first time that they came out with a visual effect to that caliber was the Garen ultimate.
Oh, yeah, where it shakes the whole map.
Yeah, and it's like, it shakes the whole map. Your whole screen kind of just goes, and the first time I ever died to one of those, I was like, whoa, oh, okay, I'm dead. And it hurt. And it hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And then, of course, similar thing happened the first time I ever died to the new Urgot where the chains, they just go, and you're like,
Yeah. It's honestly depressing, and I'm thinking that that's where Stanford wants to put their eggs
Yeah.
in that basket, in the Urgot basket, because it literally is terrifying.
Yeah, it's a little swap, I think, of the team composition styles. We saw that in the last match, right, between our two teams before,
Yeah, that's
where they
right.
kind of took the team composition,
That's right.
switched them around, and whichever one kind of had the more aggressive composition took the wins. So there's some hope here to that regard for Stanford, because they seem to have the much more aggressive individual champions, right? Like Zaya's going to definitely deal a frick ton of damage. And then, of course, Skarner's going to duel out a Jarvan if they meet 1v1 in the jungle. And then Urgot can be really, really scary in a 1v1, and Moore can just snowball out of control and just have way too much damage. I mean, I won't even start talking about the cast-in because it's like kind of really hit or miss. I'll talk about it if he does start to get ahead. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a really aggressive composition here for Stanford, a nice, well-rounded composition for Oregon. We'll see how this early game goes. It's a 5-man stack here for Oregon.
Oh, and the Bootless does give it away. Dolce able to see that invade coming, so now they are going to disengage there. Oh, but they want the Skarner pillar there. Get themselves some early gold instantly. Look at that. All 4 members there. Pick up a little bit of gold. It's a nice little strategy if you're wanting to get ahead money-wise doing that.
You can't purchase a single thing with that gold, though.
No, but it's still fun.
You feel a little accomplished. It's like running in with an Ezreal and getting like a Klepto proc, although that could be massive.
Oh, yeah, because if you get an axe, you know, you get your Elixir of Power or a biscuit.
One game I played in an extended kind of quasi-invade, we didn't really take any fights, I landed enough Klepto procs that when I looked at my inventory, because I didn't even check because it was a skirmish, I had 3 money bags, each of which hit for max, and based on like the additional gold from just Klepto itself, I ended up just like basing and buying like a Sapphire Crystal towards my tier as Ezreal, and had like a 3-minute tier because I just like based and came back. It was,
that's
it was
so
disgusting.
gross. Speaking of gross, poor Nidalee One Trick here, probably a little bit unfamiliar with the way Tristana works in terms of CSing. Killed 1 minion and got the other 2 in the wave down to probably 20 hit points and was unable to pick them up.
Unlucky.
Yeah.
Able to pick up everything else in the wave.
Yeah,
though,
everything
so
else
not
afterwards.
Fall too far behind. Here's the
in
level
fact,
2, though.
Level 2, wow.
Answered, though. So not going to be any aggression here in the bottom lane. Nice try for the Dark Binding. In mid lane, too, things are going to be pretty even. The health shows that there's not too much of an advantage here, but the range gives Gnar the ability to push in and kind of zone off to the best of his ability as he can this early on. Try and zone away this Urgot pick.
And that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that that guy doesn't get ahead, because as much as we talk about it, it's just the nature of the champion. He's one of those juggernauts, so he's going to be like Garen or Darius or, you know, the likes of that, where he's going to build a Black Cleaver and some hit points, you know, kind of like a Lowy, and it's just going to be so much harder to kill than it looks like should be possible. And you can't let him get ahead.
Yeah, and you can see having the pressure here of being able to push in top lane means that the skirmish that wasn't really even a skirmish, but the fight here to get that scuttle easily goes in favor of Oregon. Bought with my support on Jarvan. Even though he's going to lose a 1v1 against Skarner, he kind of backs off, waits until there's enough pressure in top lane for this Triton here to just show up and kind of be there, especially with Mega Gnar kind of available. It's even scarier. But that kind of push pressure gives you so much extra pressure in the jungle, right? And so you can see that if bot lane can stay pushed in like this for Oregon, if top lane can continue to do the same, it opens up a lot more breathing room for Jarvan to not fall to otherwise Skarner advantages. It makes it hard for, of course, Jarvan to gank anything, but the idea is deny farm, don't die. And if you can do that, then you don't need to gank. You don't need to do that because you're creating the simple, slow, steady advantages that will help you to scale into the late game that you're hoping to get to as Oregon.
So now, explain to me this. There are 2 ways to play, or three ways to play. You can either shove your lane, allow yourself to be shoved, or you can freeze. What are the advantages to shoving? Because that's exactly what Oregon has done. All 3 lanes are shoved forward. Oh, wow. And it looks like Clans is trying to just get his pillars, gets caught in a 1v2.
In a 1v4.
Oh, 1v4. They do land vision there. They pop the blast plant. They pop the black shield. And everything, complete denial of whatever Skarner was trying to do there. Well done, Oregon.
Yeah, just caught out of position, and that's going to be first blood going over to Tristana. The start to hopefully the scaling that will come through from Oregon. An advantage, you said it should be in the bottom lane. If they can do that, and it starts with that first blood, it should spell out for victory for them.
I agree. So, you know, again, we were talking about wave shoving and things like that. You know, if you have your wave pushed underneath enemy turret, then your jungler can't really come and gank for you. So what are the benefits there of shoving your wave?
Well, you're always going to have roam potential. You can leave because you're not missing out on CS. You've already pushed it in the turret. You've already cleared out the enemy minions. So you've already secured all the golden experience you can from that wave. And then, of course, you can leave for a short window of time, that option not being available to your enemy laners or singular laner, because if they leave, they miss out on the golden experiences at their turret. Above and beyond that, if you shove in, it's much harder, generally speaking, to last hit minions underneath your turret. And so you're going to deny a few minions here and there, even to the best of players, when it's pushed underneath your turret. Even the best players will miss some CS under turret. You can see Boo was straight in there doing a really good job of his own last hitting under turret, but you can see that it takes a lot, especially if you're not a resourceless champion like Gnar is. If you have mana and you have to use your spells to help yourself last hit, that reduces your ability to even trade in the 1v1 because you're down mana, you're down cooldowns, and you have to respect that. So generally speaking, pushing in gives yourself advantage in whatever your matchup is. But of course, if you're shoving forward, you're that much further away from the safety of your own turret, meaning you're more susceptible to ganks. So as long as your jungler has pressure and is tracking the enemy jungler, you're only ever going to get advantages from pushing forward. Speaking
of, both junglers meet in the river to try and contest the Scuttle Crab. The reason I was asking also, because like you said, you get the roam potentials just like we see here for Taliyah. The ultimate is down. No way to, there's a flash for Fidix, but somehow Spanky takes all of the turret shots and goes down. Teleport in now from Carlton Dirks, and not Tanner does have the black shield, doesn't get hit from the grab and throw. Nice play here from Stanford. Way to turn that around.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Weaver's Wall had created a good opportunity to take a fight for Oregon, but he ends up just getting deleted as soon as he shows up, not even able to, like, cleanse away. It doesn't really help you if you're just taking way too much damage from a turret, so ends up being a return. It's not the first blood. We already had that go over to Nidalee One Trick, but ends up being a return kill here for Stanford, and looks like it's going to mean that they get the dragon for it as well.
They do indeed, but now this is going to give the opportunity for Bootless and Nidalee One Trick with Not Tanner to shove in those waves again. Deny that CS underneath the turrets and keep the advantage that they had already there. They're still ahead in the gold now. CS advantages in the top and in the bot side. So not catastrophic, I don't want to say, but, you know, a really unfortunate way to start off your ganking roams, just, you know, wrecked underneath the turret.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Oh my goodness, nice.
Wow, nice way to get the seismic shove there over the rocks on the ground. Spanky dealing tons of damage there.
Yeah, Cassidy shows up to farm up the rest of a wave and a half, and by the time he's done doing so, he's down to 100.5 health, and so it's kind of sketchy here. But
the three-man gank, Spanky gets ulted and suppressed and chunked. Carlton Danks picking up that kill.
Yeah, and he's like, solo kill.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know, you're going to hear some of that chatter going on, but nice rotation there. A good call. You can definitely see the synergy there that happened for Stanford, where they have both the jungler and top laner showing up. I mentioned that could be a win condition, where if you want to put pressure into the mid lane and get your mid laner ahead, bring multiple members. Don't just have your jungler show up, have your top laner show up as well, or even your support, as you mentioned, Giadre. So nice choice there, and that's going to make up for the kind of CS deficit that accrued against Carlton Danks in the top lane on Urgot because of his teleport. So he'll now be pretty equally matched in overall gold, but you mentioned last game, gold doesn't matter if it ain't items in inventory.
All right, looks like Gnar is there ready to throw. He does go mini Gnar, suppression down onto bot with my support, but now all the damage. Bootless Trenton is there. He's going to get No, he can't quite land it onto Clans, but now all the damage is going on to Carlton Dirks. He does take out Jarvan on the top side. Bootless is dealing a lot of damage, but that double buff on Carlton is just, it's not even fair to fight this Gnar.
Yeah, it's really, really scary. 2-0 now here onto that Urgot. A fight in the bottom lane might break out. Nope, not going to be followed up anymore, but
ults used here, 3 of them. We see the Soul Shackles, the Feather Storm, and the Cosmic Radiance all on cooldown here. Crazy fight happened in the bot side. No deaths, though.
Nope, not at all. It looks like the name of the game here for Stanford is just keep breathing in bottom lane, stay alive. It's 1-to-1 in kills overall. Of course, it's slightly in favor of Tristana here from a first blood killed, 100 extra gold, but CS numbers pretty equal. All other things relatively equal. Nice little trade of damage there. Just going to hit him forward, but they do have Skarner in the wings too.
And so I think he might get away. There is the rocket jump. Morgana, it will be the next target. The ward is spotted out and taken. Now the fight is here in the top side. That double buff still doing a lot of work for Carlton Danks, but man, Bootless is just throwing down the damage, poking him out, getting that boomerang to stay relevant in the lane.
For now, once Carlton Danks can complete a core item, Black Cleaver is going to be that first one. The story might change a little. He does have those couple of kills. He's down a little bit of CS, so it'll kind of negate one of those kills, but he's still up a little bit. Hopefully he'll stay close in the EXP difference. But now that Teleport will be coming back off cooldown for Urgot, expect him to show up in another lane again. Especially right now. You can see Jarvan setting up a gank on the wing. Down here in the bottom lane is where they want to fight. Skarner's missing. He's over doing a camp. He's not even close. Doesn't even have flash to show up. Here is the Jarvan. Will we see more than just the 3v2?
We do see a missed Dark Binding, but the ultimate there in no follow-up from the Oregon bot lane. Urgot is now there, not Tanner there. Oh, great Gnar to get 2 people thrown into the wall. He gets stunned, and he is going to go down to Carlton. Ooh. He flashes forward to get the fear on everybody, dealing damage with all of the knee shotguns, and now Jarvan will make it out. No, whoa! Flash forward. Fidix somehow picks up that kill, and now the flash forward to get a stun, and HH Spanky is still alive there, uses the cleanse, and has the Black Shield, picks up a kill on his own. Tanner does get the stopwatch. Holy cow, that fight was crazy.
5v5. Stanford doing it this time. Game 2 coming out here. They've now accrued for themselves a 3,000, more to come with first brick falling shortly. A multi-thousand goal lead for them. And a lot of it here on a solo laner and AD carry. Both their solo laners, no deaths, multiple kills. Same is true of their AD carry. There's some trouble on Summoner's Rift for Oregon right now. Nice teleport plays coming through. Caston showing up to clean it up at the end there. Yes, they lose Mr. PBH, but you know, when you're the support, you'll say, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. And I want to see how that happened again, because I don't see how Xayah had the range for that. There's a nice jump here.
So the teleport comes in from Urgot first. He's going to show up, and Mega Gnar is available, but only enough time to get the ult off. No follow-up stun. It just gets the Q. Might have been able to use the stun instead, but he doesn't. And then he's low enough that the back-handed reverse ultimate there from the Urgot means he's going to pull him in and get the kill. And then, yes, bot with my support tries to create the distance, but you see how low he is. The flash Rift Walk into auto attack. It's going to be enough damage. And then the fadeaway Q, that Void Sphere going to do enough damage. Casson picking up a quick double kill on the side there. And then, of course, Mr. PBH, nice use of the stopwatch to force a compromised position to trade that kill. And that means that if the Talia wants to get a kill, she has to put herself really close, so a little bit of a bait. Oh my goodness, we're racked back into a fight, though.
Cosmic Radiance saving a lot of damage here, and now all of it is going back into Jarvan. They already have 1 kill on the side of Stanford. EQ to get away. Nidalee One Trick needs to be careful. Flashes away from the Dazzle, but still a 1-for-0 trade and burning summoner spells.
And meanwhile, while Stanford is getting summoner spells out of key members in this top lane, then Garner on the other side of the map just getting a free dragon for his team, and Urgot stealing away a buff. You can see that Summoner's Rift belongs to Stanford for the time being. It's up to Oregon to play to their strengths now. They said that they've drafted, they said being by their picks, drafted for essentially a late game scaling composition, but will they be able to get there? That's what we asked of Stanford last game, is will your late game scaling composition be able to reach the late game? Yes or no? If yes, play it out, play safe, farm up, get your items, and then play in 5v5 situations that aren't really skirmishy and the
compromised.
Way, compromised, like the one, like the way the fight happened in bottom lane, where yes, it was 5v5 overall, but it was engage after re-engage after re-engage from Stanford having superior positioning and setting up the fight. Even though it wasn't engaged from the Jarvan, it was that they were prepared for it, and Xayah was able to remain alive through the entire fight. And
it's crazy to me right now to see just how swapped, like you said, how swapped these win conditions became, because they have the better team, and there's a suppression into a kill there. Dolce picking up another kill, up to 3 now. There are 3 members here, 3+ kills and 0 deaths for Stanford. They're doing exactly that. They have the picks. They have the potential to just wreck these fights. And I think they need to keep it calm, stay cool, don't do what Colorado did and just start willy-nilly saying we're ahead and let's fight people. And if they do that, I think they can indeed try and turn this into a win for themselves.
Yeah, I'd like to see pressure being put onto Rift Herald right now. You have the pressure in the bottom lane. Teleports will come back for each of these top laners shortly, but you do have the pressure, of course, with a 3-kill, 2-assist Urgot that you can imagine. There's the pressure put on the Gnar to be able to try and just hold against Urgot. We can see he's basing, going to pick up what's likely going to be... Yeah, he's building the health item. Okay, so he doesn't actually complete his base, but I imagine it's going to be... the name's escaping me.
Sterix?
Yeah, that one.
On the Urgot.
Yep. So that you can just take the fights wherever you choose, and you say, yeah, I'm going to engage. Yes, I'm a frontline. Yes, I'm a damage dealer. But guess what? I don't care, because I just take 1 billion damage and shield through it. And then get additional base AD from that item as well. Okay, so he goes for the Frozen Mallet. Almost seems like he's cosplaying as Gnar at this point.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been better to go either Sterix or Finisher Boots 2 to chase a little bit harder.
So, it's Sterix, wasn't that one of the items that got the melee only kind of thing?
Oh, it did.
Yeah, so I think that's why he didn't get it.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, okay, so mid lane died again, but now Gnar is there. He's probably going to pick up that kill. No, the stopwatch is there. He does get it because of the 3rd hit. Nice
timing there on the Boomerang Blade. That's going to be a kill, essentially a shutdown going over to this Gnar. That's going to help him build the items he needs to answer Carlton Danks. You can see 2.4k health for Carlton. That's a lot of health to deal with when he already has a freak ton of damage, right? Like he's melting turrets. He's able to take these fights. You saw him wreck the one that happened in bottom lane. We need to see more of what I want to see is more aggression from this Urgot to just start some fights. He's so far ahead that even if he falls, he'll put out enough AoE damage, enough damage on priority targets. You can see there, 20% with 1 skill shot. Now I'm sure Talia can do the same as an AP mage, but it's up to the team with advantages to press those advantages. So I want to see more of Stanford pressing the advantages they built for themselves in convincing fashion, most of it around their solo laners.
Precisely. They already have the Kassadin split pushing. Now, we've seen the last couple of games that the split push has to be answered. It will always need to be answered. And Kassadin with the teleport up, as well as both top laners, that's still going to give overall advantage to Stanford. No matter who's on what side, you have to answer it, and you need a way to get back into the fights. So I want to see another look here at this mid lane kill. Looks like Spanky and Dolce are just fighting right there. Jumps forward, gets the smack in.
He's stacking that Rift Walk, and you'll see he just has so much damage. The minions will show up. That'll give enough vision, and then Spanky here is just probably going to take the... There you go.
Oh,
it's the flash play. Like he did in the bottom lane to get himself a double kill. That's going to be a kill coming through. Takes a lot of damage. Brutally Stricken happens to be there and picks up the kill for himself on the tail end there. So a 1-for-1 overall with the flash being used for Kassadin. So in terms of resources, definitely goes in favor of Oregon, actually, despite it being a solo kill in a 1v1. Ends up being picked up by, in a shutdown gold to boot, picked up by Bootless, who is still sitting on tier 1 boots.
Man.
Side point.
Well, I mean, at least he's not completely bootless, right? Like his name would suggest.
Yeah, why isn't he a Kassadin main? Speaking of which, Nidalee one trick on 80 carry.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Trolling like the jungler bot with my support. Maybe that's why he was camping bottom lane in early game. He's just like trying to.
Spanky needs to be really careful here. If he gets low enough, that's going to be an ult coming out of the Urgot. Speaking of, an ult, Clans is going to get hit with all of the knockups. Gnar is there. He gets a good Gnar against the wall, but Cosmic Radiance is there. Jarvan jumps onto Fidix, but is unable to deal the damage, but suddenly Tristana is in, jumps in with the rocket jump, flashes away, and gets killed by Fidix, and now Spanky and not Tanner have to do all of the damage themselves. No winning these fights for Oregon. Stanford using that 5v5.
Getting a little ahead of themselves. First Stanford kind of being crazy, diving into the tier 2 around the corner, getting way ahead of themselves without the knowledge that Gnar's on the flank with Mega Gnar available. Luckily, Cosmic Radiance kind of gets them out of jail for free. But then unfortunately, with the team fight going really well in favor of Oregon, it ends up being that Tristana just jumps in too far.
And now Dolce does manage to do exactly the same thing, get a kill onto the mid laner, and then die after using his Zhonya's.
Yeah, and generally speaking, that's not going to be good for Stanford because their team comp is not, it doesn't scale poorly, but it's not designed to scale in the same way that, oh, this is scary.
Ooh, the suppression after the stuns. Clans is now going to go in onto bot with my support. Nidalee one trick, unable to do anything. Just complete surprise there coming from Stanford in that cute little pixel brush.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about scaling, but scaling is just a fancy way of saying getting to max items. And if you get there way ahead of the enemy, then you're definitely going to have that kind of advantage. And that's the story that's kind of developing here for Stanford, where now they're up 8,000 plus gold. And with 4 turrets to 0, they're on board to have, short of deaths, it's going to be a perfect game, owning everything on the map. So let's look at that map, that fight at the tier 2. What happens here is you have Skarner thinking, I can catch someone. Okay, just kidding, I can't. And then Jarvan saying, I'll take this fight. This would be where Jarvan should turn around and join the Gnar for a Cataclysm. Yes, you get the damage on the front end of Cosmic Radiance, but here's where Cosmic Radiance comes through. And because Xayah's not in it, then Jarvan thinks he can go back in 1v1. But no, you can't do that because you're going to have a split fight. You need to keep it pumped on your side of the map. Nidalee one trick goes in. Yes, unfortunately, that's precisely when Fidix uses his ult, and so it's kind of a bait. But unfortunate positioning from the Tristana means the fight can't go in Oregon's favor. Stanford wins out. Nice play by them.
Oh, but here comes the turnaround, because Gnar gets a great ultimate into the wall, and they pick up the kill. But
Tristana!
Fidix goes legendary, killing Tristana. They need to be careful now. Cosmic Radiance is down. All 3 members there are invulnerable. Gnar is really low, but you know what? That's a win there. A 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, all without the help of Skarner. You didn't even need his ultimate to catch someone out there. It's just a superior vision control and baiting out that Baron. It looks like they'll be pressuring this tier 2, likely to catch it as well. You can't really stop them when Skarner has his ultimate available still. Yes, you have Black Shield, but like I said, it's extremely difficult to use that perfectly. There's not really a wave here. I want to see Stanford backing off and either clearing out the vision and baiting another Baron, or just going straight for it after getting like a pick in a pixel brush like they did near the Dragon. That's how they were able to secure themselves their second Infernal. Ooh.
Oh, instead Fidix looks like he might be caught. He is knocked up, and he is shut down. Bootless going to pick that one up. It is horrible news for Stanford, because now they don't have their main damage dealer, and it looks like Mega Gnar is available. The ultimate not quite there. But the red buff here going to deal a lot of damage. Gets the slow there from the house. Will he throw it again? No, they're going to disengage, but good work there.
There's not a lot of ability for them to take a fight, though, at Baron at this point. You need the range that Xayah can bring to you. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more pressure put onto the Baron. Even if you're not going to start it, you can secure the vision, make sure that you're safe in that area, and you have to just basically make sure that when you get a pick like that on a key member like Xayah, that you press the advantage. You're kind of on a timer here for Oregon because despite having champions that are kind of designed to team fight and designed to scale for that choice, if Tarek gets a good Cosmic Radiance off, he basically wins the fight for free. We saw that happen on the Tier 2 mid that we got a replay of, where that was the worst possible positioning, I think, for Stanford to be in, but the Cosmic Radiance blocking 80% of the damage from that team fight likely means one team fight. It wins.
Precisely.
Right? Stanford gets to win that team fight for free off of Cosmic Radiance. So, I mean, props to Mr. PBH. Really well played using that spell properly in that particular fight. If it's not used properly, or he gets caught, or they're just not all together, and it's not used in that exact way, then Oregon has the tools they need to win this, as long as they can stall things out, I think. I mean, you're down almost 10,000 gold at this point. You're losing your vision. This is likely the Baron play here from Stanford.
Yeah, they need to make sure and get it, though, because the longer this game goes, we've seen just how scrappy Oregon can be, and if they play it right, they will come ahead in these fights. So Stanford has to be really careful. I like that they disengage there. They have vision. They do have their Urgot on the bot side. They have teleports, and no match from the Gnar, but he does go Mega right now. Clan's not quite caught out.
They needed to catch him right
there.
Yeah,
they did.
They had everybody in position. The minions showed that others were not there, and they had the vision control. You don't let him take his Spire for free. That's crazy. So I think a real misplay there from Oregon. It's not over, though. It's not like they had someone in. So I want to see a little bit more here. This could be really scary. Coming over the wall here, if you see...
Whoa, over the wall, just a couple auto attacks there. Bot with my support taking a ton of damage. Looks like the trades on the bot side are staying just within the wave clear. No one's really trying anything. Bot with my support needs to be careful. He does drop that control ward in there. Not Tanner does get the root onto Tarek, but here come the teleports. The fights are here. Kassadin is on the backside and gets Nidalee one trick. He goes golden and wants to stop everything else. Flashes away, gets hit with nothing, and that's a free Baron for Stanford. Yeah. That's what we needed to see.
That's the scary aspect of Stanford's composition, is they are a pick comp, with a pair of assassins, really. I want to call Skarner almost an assassin, because if he's near you and his teammates are anywhere nearby, he's going to melt you. Urgot just getting to the point where he has way too much damage. It's the 5v5 situation. This is likely going to be the end here for Stanford, but this is the same story we talked about last game. Forward. Yeah, no, I mean, that was almost as good as Jarvan's flash near the Baron pit. It's that same thing was true for game one in the reverse, where Stanford was struggling because they have the scaling, especially from the 80 carry position, but they need to play around just that, and that's like the one dimension, the strong one dimension.
Ooh. And speaking of dimensions, this is the one. Jarvan gets a great ultimate onto 3, flash forward from Mr. PBH. They are now, their Cosmic Radiance is down, getting the slow onto Spanky. He does flash away. Almost a good engage there, losing 2, not getting any kills, not able to defend. This is going to be their second inhibitor going down. Not good news for Oregon, but will they be able to defend this base for just a little bit longer? Jarvan still dead for the next 15 seconds. I don't think they can do it.
No, I don't think they can. There's a lot of damage that comes through from...
Oh, suppression. No stun quite yet. There's a great Gnar into the Nexus itself. Shield going in onto Urgot. He does get the kill, and the ult gets the fear onto everybody, and now the damage is coming out. That's a triple kill for Dolce. So much damage, but does get shut down in the end. 30 seconds left before the retimer or death timer is done. Stanford is going to make this a 1v1 and go into game number 3.
I'm happy to have a game 3 out of this. I think these teams are well matched. The drafts have been telling the story here. It's hard to make a full-on judgment. Before I get to those last points, let's take one last look at this fight. Gnar is going to have a great choice here to initiate, to try and lock people down, but the damage just isn't there. Look at the Tristana. She's right there on the front edge of the fight. You're going to have people turning. Xayah gets a couple autos onto the Nexus turret, turns around, Now Gnar's going to go Mega, stun people into the wall, get a nice wall up onto 3 members. But meanwhile, you can see Tristana auto attack, gets baited into a little bit of a scary position because, as you can see, people move right on top of her. She's feared. And then during the duration of the fear, essentially gets 100 to 0. That's this Urgot just getting massive and super, super scary. And then here is Xayah able to just rip those feathers through team member after team member of the enemy team. And that'll end up being the victory. A really clean team fight. Gnar did a great job trying to take that fight, but the gold advantage is just too much. Xayah remaining essentially uncontestable, and she just rips through everyone. I was going to say, the team compositions for these two teams, both were extremely strong. There's lacking wave clear if Xayah's dead here for Stanford. There's lacking damage if Tristana's gone or Talia's gone from Oregon. So there's definite win conditions and even like loss conditions and like problems for each of these team compositions. But much like game 1, instead of it being Stanford, it was Oregon in game 1 that drafted like aggressive composition that could just like take fights whenever. As long as they had items, they could just take the fights. And that's what Stanford did in game 2, and they ended up winning. Oregon did it with game 1, ended up winning. Whichever of these teams seems to be favoring the weight, scale, protect the ADC, almost like a Jugger Cog, but without that composition, seems to be doing okay, and then just not being able to take perfect fights. So I want to see better fights or just abandon that strategy overall, because we saw that in our earlier match today, that if the team that goes for the late game perfect 5v5 team composition, scaling composition, tanks in the front, damage dealers in the back, those team compositions, for whatever reason, they're not being executed properly, and they're losing. They're falling behind slightly in gold, then more gold, and even if they don't get a massive gold disadvantage, they're just not, they're getting caught out, and they're not getting those 5v5 situations like they really, really need to. So adjust the draft or play better, and I think the easier of those two options is just adjust your draft. Yeah,
in all honesty, I think it's the play better. It was always people being caught. It was just over-aggression on the wave clear and everything. But if you do adjust your draft the right way, maybe there is no opportunity to have a comp like they have the last 2 winning games.
Yes. And if you can draft to something that's a free win late game, that's always going to be good. But if you can't play it properly, and we've seen now 4 games essentially where that hasn't been, that's been the case, right? Where the team that goes for that late game free win, quote unquote, doesn't get there, and they don't take the fights. They don't get the fights that they need. They get outplayed beforehand. So if you just can't do it, or for whatever reason it's just not happening, I think throw your hands up and go for it. I mean, this is game 3. You have to be confident with whatever choice you decide on coming into this. But we'll be right back after a very short break before getting into game 3 here, the tiebreaker match point game between Stanford and Oregon. Don't go anywhere. The Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers returns after this. All right, welcome back. We're about to get into our third and final game of our second final. It's getting late here.
It's really
everybody
late.
in the studio is like, how long can these games go? It's finally, now we know the pain of LCS casters.
Oh, man, especially over in EU because they start in the late afternoon so that we can see it here in NA.
And it's the 40, 50, 60-minute games that they get almost every single game over and over in EU. We're feeling a little bit of that, but I'm loving it. I live for this. So we're going to get into our third game of our final match here this evening on Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers. This is University of Oregon versus Stanford University, each of them taking a hard-fought fight for each of their victories. It was Oregon taking game 1, Stanford taking game 2, and now they're meeting together once again on the Rift for their third match. Let's take a look at those lineups to get you guys right into this game. You can see for Oregon, you've got Bluteless Triton in the top lane, putting on some clean Gnar play in that last one, and then Bot with my support on the jungle, Spanky in mid, drawing a lot of bans his way in this series, and then Nidalee one trick on 80 carry, some nice play from him, and Not Tanner on support.
Running the lineup for Stanford, we will have Carlton Danks up in the top lane, doing really well, pulling out that random Urgot pick. Clans in the jungle with Dolce in the mid. Fidix dominating that last game with the Xayah pick, with Mr. PBH in the support role, helping him out. We talked about how we wanted these teams to be really evenly matched, and it looks like we got exactly what we were asking for. These top laners able to do all of the split pushing and team fighting together, and it's pretty even. Amazing pressure coming out of Bot with my support, but yeah, fantastic positioning and team fighting coming out of Clans. Spanky and Dolce trading kills back and forth game for game. Nidalee one trick carrying on the Xayah, Fidix carrying on the Xayah, and amazing support play coming from Not Tanner and Mr. PBH. I'm stoked. This is going to be probably the best game of the night, in my opinion.
Well, it better be. It's game 3. This is the culminating match, right? This is where it all ends, where it's going to be winner takes all of this series. Yeah. And if Oregon wins this, it'll take them to 2-0 match score overall, sitting them pretty at the top of the standings. And if it's Stanford taking a game in their first ever appearance here in our collegiate series, that'll be a nice statement for them saying, hey, we are ready, we are here, we have a mark to leave, and they're going to bring Oregon to 1-1 and match themselves with their first win. So here we are into Champion Select. Gangplank has been banned out every single game. We'll see what it's followed up with. I want to see if they stick with the strategy here for Oregon, where what they've been doing essentially is banning out I don't know. It seems like there's less rhyme or reason for Oregon and more for Stanford, where Stanford has gone with pretty much the same bans. The Kha'Zix ban is the first one that comes out every single time. I imagine that'll be the same. And then jungle / some other role bans, but a lot of focus in that jungle.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of that has to do with Clan's way of playing. He likes to be a little far forward, and so he needs to make sure that Kha'Zix not going to be able to counter jungle him. Sejuani not able to set up the exact fights that she wants, because that's all Sejuani does. And there you are. There's the Kha'Zix ban with the Sejuani, and then the Rakan for the second time in a row, because that first pick Xayah, that's become the name of the series here, is Xayah.
It really has. It's now been traded back and forth as first picks in Game 2 and now in Game 3. And the steal away of the Taric, which came through as the second rotation for Stanford when they were on blue side, and they got Xayah first time. So I like the steal away of the Taric. You need to kind of have some sort of scale. There it is. I was going to say some scaling 80 carry to match so that you don't get outscaled ridiculously by this Xayah. You've got the Tristana, who matches pretty well. And then now I imagine it's going to be the jungle and support left. Jungle here for Stanford, jungle and support for Oregon. That'll make it through in this first round of picks. Available in the jungle, we still got the Zac, Jarvan, Skarner, if they want to go with it again. Now this would be Oregon taking it instead of Stanford.
There's the J4 lock-in. I like seeing J4. I think he's a very strong pick. We watched what Washington State did with him. 2 games in a row, just wrecking all of the plans of Arizona. And then I like that it's locked in here. Oregon, he did a good job last game too. Just, the rest of the map couldn't keep up. I like the Spanky pick here as well. Orianna, it's so interesting to see so many familiar picks just within the series, but then also with the whole night tonight. Cassidy locked in here also for Stanford on the other side. He did really well on that last game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you saw him getting multi-kills for himself on the back ends of team fights, repositioning to make sure that he could put damage onto priority targets and deleting them out. So really nice play from the Cassidy. Comes through. We're going to see the bans come through. Now we've got mid laners. Jungle still needed to be taken from here for Stanford. I imagine there is at least going to be one more ban for jungle from Oregon, if not more bans on the top lane, because that's the only other thing available for Stanford. Oregon here, they still need to pick their support as well as their top laner. They know what the support they're going to be playing against is, so they likely want to save top lane for the last, but you pick at the same time, so it doesn't really make a difference at this point.
I think I want to see a Gnar ban here on Oregon's side. Nope, they do ban the Skarner, thinking that that one's going to be a little bit more impactful, but then I think that's what's going to be the pick here for Stanford. I think they want... No, you know what?
It leaves Zach as like the only available jungler at this point.
Then I think you might want to pick that one. No, but okay, there are two ways to think about this. Like all right, well, that answers it. You answer the pick that's already there and wait to get your counter pick. But then that leaves the Gnar open. That was a huge... It didn't shift the entire game because you can just pick the Urgot back into it. But we saw the Camille ban. Is that really just that overpowered of a pick, or are you trying to save it from the Gnar?
I'm not sure. It would have to be like a coach that would answer that question. Camille's not going to be too strong, especially knowing that they have the counter pick. So unless they just don't play the counter picks into a Camille, then there's no reason to ban it. But they're going to let, as you mentioned, the strong pick that's come through in almost every game this evening of both series, the Gnar comes through, locked in with Braum. Braum going to do a lot, actually. The skill shot or projectile damage is mostly just going to be Tristana so far, but it can make a huge difference. All right.
And there it is.
They're going to answer it. Looking to go back to their victory roots. They lock into Urgot, take that matchup once again in the top lane, and it's going to be basically just trading 80 carries?
A little bit, because was it Orianna last game? It was Talia last game, and Morgana in the bot lane instead of the Braum.
So they steal away the Taric here for Stanford. No, it was their pick last game.
Yeah, it was their pick.
So they just switch out Talia for Tristana, and then they're going to have the different jungle pick, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Zach instead of Skarner.
Overall, it is a very similar comp to the last game, and I think that Oregon banned the Skarner specifically. I mean, it was in their game 1 ban. They did ban the Skarner, and we can see why. Clan's doing amazing things with it during game 2, and it all has to do with the fact that in those smaller skirmishes, Skarner will always be a great pick because you only need to grab one of them. If it's a 5v5, it's harder to just grab a target. But instead, that's why you have your W and your AOE with the Q and everything like that. Just these small skirmishes that they keep finding themselves in. The Skarner was just fantastic at picking one target and then dragging into the team.
We'll have to see exactly how that matchup goes, if it'll go heavily in favor of Stanford on top lane once again, or if it'll be a different story because the jungle picks have been traded out here. We'll have to see how mid lane does as well. It'll be a different kind of matchup here for Cassidy, kind of sleeper through levels 1 through 5. But once you get level 6, now they don't even have Talia with Weaver's Wall to actually follow any roams from Cassidy, so that could be a way to get the ball rolling here for Stanford. We'll have to see. This is going to be game 3. It's such a nail-biter at this point.
Yeah.
It's so close, and these teams are pretty closely matched. You've seen neither one of these games that went in a victory in either direction went as a smash. Not even close. These are close matches through and through, all the way to a Nexus exploding, and these team compositions, they're pretty strong, both of them. There's not really like a clear favorite here. It kind of looks to me like, once again, Oregon is now in that seat we talked about with the draft, where you have mid and AD carry as your main damage sources, which is pretty standard League of Legends, but in this case, not quite as bad. But generally speaking, it looks to be more of that if Tristana dies or if Orianna dies, where's your damage coming from? Gnar can kind of contribute if he shows up in a team fight. He's got to split push. Jarvan, I think, will do a little bit more than like a Skarner. Yeah, or Zach. But still, 2 main damage threats, whereas Urgot's meant to rip through people. Kassadin, a lot harder to catch and delete. And then, of course, Tristana, now that you're not playing into, say, like a Veigar like we saw earlier tonight, it's not as easy to get caught out and much easier to reposition. And with Taric available once again, the Cosmic Radiance can be the game changer, the game winner, which it really was a big part of the team composition and the draft overall for Stanford when they won in Game 2.
So then I have 2 questions about the Oregon draft. Number 1, okay, this one isn't really a question; it's more of a comment.
Rhetorical.
So the Braum instead of the Morgana, I think that is a huge change. I think Braum will be much better. The ultimate has, it's just as crowd control-y as Morgana's, except it's a knock up. It disrupts things, not just deals a little bit of damage and can get a stun if you I think that's going to be a much better pick, especially after we saw him play Rakan, how disruptive he was. I think Braum is going to be a much better pick. But then you mentioned the Veigar. What do you think the reason for not picking the Veigar a second time is? Because it wasn't banned. If it's played into the Zac,
it's higher risk, higher reward. And in a Game 3, you have to be confident in what you decide to go with. And if there's even the shred of doubt that you're saying, maybe Veigar's not the best pick here, then you have to make sure that you don't like pigeonhole yourself into what won't be a perfect game for you, because you want to be so comfortable. You're already going to have higher stress levels because it's Game 3, and you got to calm your nerves, play your comfort picks, play your comfort composition, and play to those strengths without making yourself feel worried that you didn't pick the right champion. Once champion select's over and you load onto the Rift, you should only ever be thinking about the game. You shouldn't ever be second guessing your draft, because that will only ever put you into tilt.
Yeah,
and that's the worst place to be in a best-of series. Yeah,
and especially as Game 3. It's not just Game 3 that ends this particular series. It's what puts you a point up on the board, on the scoreboard. Stanford really wants to get up on there, but Oregon wants to be a 2-0 team. I don't think there is one yet.
There isn't, and they would be the first to take it. Looks like standard jungle starts here. A little bit of shallow vision into the jungle put here for Oregon, so they're going to know kind of an idea of where Stanford jungler is going to be beginning, but they don't actually get a peek onto the Zac himself, so not complete information. We'll have to see how they decide to play out this early game.
I think...
Go ahead.
Holding back on these invades, it's a more reserved style, but it's safe. You don't need to go and fight anybody in the first bits of the game. Just get the leash there for your own jungler. Let the top laners get to where they need to be. Be ready. More presence of mind, a little bit calmer. I think that's really wise here from both of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Stanford essentially set themselves up to be calm, to be more of the same that we saw from their victory, because they have essentially the same team composition, essentially the same draft, so they feel confident. I assume they feel confident if they go for the same draft. I assume they feel confident with what they've drafted for themselves. They feel confident in the matchups, and, I think it's important, as you mentioned, and in the words here of Nidalee One Trick on his player survey, he said, it's always important to remember to have fun, even when you're tryharding. So as long as you come in with a positive attitude and no tilt factor and you're ready for a competitive match of League of Legends, I can't imagine anything more than a competitive game, a close game between these two really closely matched teams.
And now we do see the first gank is going to come in. Spanky wants to get help from bot. And it does not amount to anything. Dolce playing really far back, wasting a bit of the time of the Jarvan, while Zac, meanwhile, is making his way to his third camp instead of to only his second. And that's good news for Stanford. Tempo, it's a word that's used a lot. It describes, where you are in regards to how quick you're doing the same thing that your counterpart on the opposite team is doing.
Yeah, and so Jarvan's going to show up here. Nice sneak over the wall by Zac. They're going to catch each other out in the river. This is going to be scuttle control likely for bot with my support. Smite not available for the next half a second. There's going to be the zoning elastic slingshot into the smite. Zach going to get the scuttle crab, and that'll give him a CS advantage. It looks like a lot, but, you know, every camp, including just the solo scuttle, counts as 4.
But now we do see Clans has priority on the top. Ooh, dodging the elastic slingshot with the crunch in Mega Gnar form. Nice play there from Bootless. And now Zach, I think he does finish that back. There's no reason to stay around there. Still has a flash on the Gnar, and by the time they do get a good chance to re-engage with the minions, he'll have his hop back up. Yeah,
you want to see him trying to press his advantage as much as he can in the range versus melee matchup. Again, it's not as punishable as some other matchups like that, and I keep calling it melee. Of course, Urgot is ranged, but very short range comparative to the Gnar, and so you can punish that. You're quick on your feet as Gnar, you can dodge out the skill shots, and of course land your boomerang. If you can do those things, yes, it's a tall order, but when you can, it's a really punishing matchup in favor of the Gnar. If you can't, it can be easily punished in the reverse.
And so, more stuff here that's important. If we see a ping going down, Gnar is all alone, going to be in a 1v2 up on the top side. He is going to use the hop to try and get away. He still has flash, but it looks like he doesn't even need it. Just kind of runs around the side. I don't think that's the right place to go back in.
Nah, you just want to hop over, use a blast plant, get back into lane.
There it is.
It was a nice little play there by the Zach to try and either predict a flash backwards towards the brush, or at least just to make sure that he didn't overcommit and take free damage when they weren't going to take the fight anyway. So
yeah,
decent play. Clan's trying to put the pressure in. I need to see more from both these junglers. It seems way too quiet for a game 3. If this ends up just being everybody farming till 20 minutes,
it's going to be so boring.
Well, beyond that, Jihadre, it's that these team compositions are designed to fight. They're not designed to just farm for 25 minutes. I mean, you can try and make that argument here for Oregon, but your jungler gets outscaled. His initiation can't really... I mean, it's going to match the same level of initiation that a Zach can bring, but there's no way you get as tanky as as Jarvan as the Zach will. So in terms of being able to frontline for a backline carry, definitely goes in favor of Zach. Yeah, it's like it would be boring, yes, but there's a lot more that both of these teams can do to set themselves up for success coming in to the end here of our broadcast. It's
Ooh, speaking of, trying to predict the juke there. Clans is now in a 1v2. He's going to get hit by the boomerang and the hyper passive. He's going to have to flash over that wall. That's a good catch there. Bot with my support calling down Bootless, and they do manage to blow that huge summoner spell. Especially now that we're at 6 minutes, we're going to see level 6 here right there on Carlton Danks, and then the mid laners have it as well. That's the time to have your flash when you can combo with some ultimates.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing there is if you have a ward on the Raptor camp and you see that it's taken, the worst thing you can do is try and invade top lane if you don't have an advantage to do so. If it's gone, your best bet is either he was just there and is either farming whatever other camps are up, which obviously is going to be the Wolves, or is heading there right now. Nobody really tends to go for the Krugs until they've got close to like a completed jungle item, just because they take so long, and especially physical damage dealers like Jarvan not only take forever because they're just so healthy, but they have so much armor, they deal enough damage, you're going to get low. You don't have as much armor as Jarvan because of the nerfs. You're never going to go for Krugs that early, and so it's just a poor kind of choice there from the Zach to invade when best information tells you it's likely Jarvan shows up while you're farming his camp.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're seeing a lot more vision coming out this game than we did the last. Look, we got 4 wards here from Oregon up on the top side of the map, and then another 1 or 2 on the bot. But then the exact opposite for Stanford. You got 4, 5, 6 on the bottom side of the river with another 2 up in the top side. So they're wanting to make sure to keep tabs on everybody this game so that no one gets caught unawares.
But now we're past, as you said, those ultimate breakpoints, right? Where everybody's approaching level 6 or has already been there, has their ultimate available, and can look for those fights. If you have a good engage in the bottom lane, you can go either way, right? You can burst out the bottom lane before Cosmic Radiance can complete its channel, or you can do the opposite using the Cosmic Radiance as its just invulnerability to just create a massive engagement that goes, I mean, completely in your favor. If you're invulnerable, you might as well take that fight. So we'll have to see if bottom lane is where these teams focus and where they want to fight, or if mid lane or top lane is where they go. As you can see, Twinkick trying to take a little bit of a trade, but Zach is here off the side, out of vision.
Gotta be careful. He does flash, not hit with the slingshot, which is interesting because I don't think he was going to get hit by it, but flashes into it. But because he was mid-flash, I think it just like canceled it. It was weird.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but good flash from Orianna to avoid getting knocked up. The Let's Bounce is available as well. You don't want to see yourself getting repositioned like that. So nice. There's flash down from Spanky. That means he doesn't have as much pressure. And Jarvan going to spot out Zach, and of course the reverse is true. They're going to back off, but vision control is in favor of Stanford, and Gnar's not completely underneath his turret. This could be a gank top lane.
Yeah, it could. Elastic Slingshot is there, interrupts the bounce. He has to flash and does make it out, but you know what? Cleanse, burning the flash from the Gnar.
All right, that's flash down from both solo laners by great ganks from Clans. Here's what I see happen often, is you have a jungler come to gank, he gets a summoner spell, and then from then on, nothing happens, and the next fight that happens is simply so far in favor of another team because they get baited out of thinking they're up a summoner spell that they take bad fights. I don't want to see that happen for Stanford. They're playing so cleanly now coming into the 10-minute mark that Zach has got both solo laners down their flashes. That needs to translate into kills or team fight advantage into some sort of like neutral objective. Take dragon, take a turret, press a turret. Like, it needs to be a lot more aggression off of the great plays. I mean, it was Zach's flash is coming back up off of his bad invade, but his flash will be available when neither Orianna nor Gnar have theirs. So which one are you going to go for? You need to go for one and or both within the window when their flashes are down. Otherwise, you've just it's not a waste of time to have done those ganks in the first place because you give the kind of pressure to the solo lanes anyway, but you need to make something of it. It's not a gold advantage, it's not a level advantage, it's no real advantage yet other than just mind games that you can play around vision, and you need to upgrade that to an actual gold lead.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I decided to take a look here at those CS numbers and just pressure in general, and it looks like Urgot is the only one who's really ahead, 15, 16 CS here. That's 1 kill worth of gold extra there, but everyone else is relatively similar. It looks like Orianna just barely gets up there to the 10 minion mark, where she is ahead. Spanky doing really well, but you know what? Dolce doing really well too. The melee into that Orianna matchup staying pretty close to even. Now going to be down 9. Down 9.
Yeah,
down
it'll
10.
fluctuate as he'll likely teleport back to lane to catch this wave, or Rift Walk in as Zach's going to soak up that EXP and gold. But you mentioned the melee into range matchup in mid. Ooh.
Oh, waiting until the mini Gnar is back, gets the jump in. He's got an ultimate. He is suppressed, and first blood for Carlton Danks in the top lane.
Solo kill. What a great play there from Carlton, waiting out the Mega Gnar, waiting until the jump was used and re-engaging, chasing down the Gnar, knowing the flash wasn't there and knowing that his damage was available. Is a really great play. A full 100-0 on the mini Gnar in a 1v1. Carlton Danks doing a great job in that 1v1. Now his gold lead is going to skyrocket as he presses in.
Speaking of unstoppable there, does wait out the Let's Bounce. A good knockup. Also comboed. No kill onto Dolce so far. Botless is there. He and Boots do get the passive from the Zach, but now Nidalee One Trick is there. They are going to get the kill there. Bot with my support. They do have the slow. Carlton has to flash away. Doesn't want to get hit with the Winter's Bite to get stunned from concussive blows.
You kind of just got to cut your losses at that point. Kassadin channeling his teleport onto a Bloblet from Zach to try and keep him healthy, but he's channeling it right in the face of the bottom lane. I mean, you can just see Tristana and the Braum just walk up to him and kill him from about 70% health. That's a little bit of a mistake there. Rift Walk was available too. You want to see him get out of that fight, not stay in it. You just, I mean, the jungler ends up dying anyway, so.
But now we do have the engage here. That's 3 stuns in 2.5 seconds, and Bootless gets a kill onto Carlton.
That is some play there. I mean, that right there is what can happen to any single member of Stanford, and in some cases can happen to multiple people. So you want to see Oregon playing to that kind of strategy, and now that they've accrued a little bit of a gold lead for themselves, you want to see them playing to that group siege, use the Braum, use Braum passive, and be able to catch people out if possible. But honestly, they're going to be able to siege a lot better at this point because they have the counter initiation tools. If they can ward out wherever Zach's flank comes from, then it becomes very difficult for Stanford to engage on them.
And they are not going to see Zach coming down right now. That ward was a little bit too recessed into that curve of the bottom lane. But now that Rift Herald is going to deal enough damage to take down the turret, but it won't matter. Zach is there in the bot lane. Not Tanner is going to survive so far. The Buster Shot, but the flash forward. Vidix is going to get hit with the Cosmic Radiance. No stun there from the Dazzle. Mr. PBH is not going to make it out alive here unless he can get a flash, but he is still in turret range. In goes Jarvan, flash forward into the EQ combo, and then the jump from Vidix makes him get out. But 1-for-1 trade on the bot there, trading supports.
Yeah, trading supports and a lot of summoner spells used overall.
Yeah, see, 4 flashes? Yeah, 4 flashes in that engage there. That was a lot.
A little bit over-aggression once again by Stanford, I think. I mean, using the Cosmic Radiance was really nice to keep Tristana healthy from just that, like, this quasi-turret dive. But then to flash forward to try and get a stun, a little ill-advised. More than a little ill-advised. It was just kind of awkward there to have done so. Opening yourself up to die, using the heal to try and keep them alive.
Ooh, that was an interesting interaction. But now Winter's Bite and Ignite are there. That is another set of stuns, and they are going to get all of the damage. Carlton is going to go down here. He wants to pick up Not Tanner, but nice play. Nice hit points there on the Braum. Already up there with the all the hit points coming from that support item. Keep him nice and healthy so that they get the kill for free.
I mean, nice play. Ooh, Jarvan. Oh, low health, very squishy.
Oh, but he has the stopwatch. Dolce does get the last Rift Walk in. Spanky wants to get the kill. Nidalee One Trick is there to try and help him out. Clans is going to get the stretching strike onto Spanky, but Nidalee One Trick is there. One more auto attack will pick up that kill. Maybe a little too much, but you know what? Turret destroyed. That's going to be the first one up there in favor of Oregon.
Now 2 quick turrets. I mean, mid lane just fell too. That's
good. That's right. It's the second one.
But that's a lot of gold now. That brings it up to 2,500 gold lead in favor of Oregon in just a couple quick minutes. Honestly, it's not Tanner here on the Ole cosplay. His roam's doing a lot. Shows up to help get that kill on Kassadin, and then in bottom lane, he gives his life to turn things around. And then roaming all the way to the top lane to turn things around and get Gnar out of a sticky situation and into a better one by securing, helping, getting that kill onto the Urgot. I mean, it's really nice Braum play here. You mentioned the choice to go with Braum instead of Morgana. It's working out really well.
Yeah, and I know that they picked the Morgana specifically against the Skarner. You know, like you said, getting that black shield, being able to, you know, pick off the targets. But it looks like Not Tanner does a little bit better on the not quite so precise skill shot champions. You know, where you talked about his Janna play, you know, and Lulu and things like that, where Morgana, if you don't hit your Dark Binding, it's not really happy days for you.
No, not at all. And you miss, you not only deny yourself the engage tool and the important crowd control, but you become susceptible to a re-engage because you don't really have anything outside of your ultimate, which you have to be in close range to make use of. So it's kind of a scary situation if you miss your Dark Binding.
Yeah.
So, but here we go. Siege, like I wanted to see happen here in the bottom lane. Mega Gnar's available. Urgot's really healthy and does have his spells available. There's the wave clear you need to see happen. I still disagree with, once again, a Tristana rushing the eye edge over a static Shiv, but luckily hasn't been extremely punished. They're down a couple turrets, but it's not the bottom lane one, so I can't really push it.
Yeah, but that's all about the wave clear that they have. A nice route there, gets all 3 members of Stanford. But now they do see Zach. They saw the ping, or rather they pinged it out. Botless does get hit, but Clans is now the next target. He jumps in to be unkillable there because of the Cosmic Radiance. Not Tanner jumps in. Oh, but a root onto Tristana. Fidix is going to be the next target, but there's the ultimate. Carlton does pick up a kill. Nidalee One Trick is the next one to go. He gets rooted underneath the turret, but now Jarvan is in the mix. Gnar is there. He gets a great ult into the Cataclysm, and that is going to be a 3-for-2. No, sorry. Clans is going to make it out. Bootless doesn't want to chase him underneath the turret. So yeah, only a 3v2 or 3-4-2 advantage Oregon in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, they were ready for the Zac engage. Nice turnaround there. I don't think they actually expected... They were ready for the Zac engage, but I don't think they were ready for Cosmic Radiance because they still took the fight as soon as they felt like Zac had missed. They take the fight. Kind of gets a little hairy for a moment, but then mispositioned by the Tristana. Fight goes kind of poorly for Stanford, and they end up picking a couple of kills, a third one really, and it wasn't that nasty for either team, but let's take another look at how that happens. Zac gets in, misses, and then they try and take this fight. There's Cosmic Radiance, and they do at least catch the Braum. He has to run away. The heal comes through from Xayah. There's going to be the stun that forces out Nidalee One Trick's ultimate. Then you can see Fidix on the back end, forced to run away. He can't DPS down, but there's the fear that comes through with so much damage. Carlton tanks, getting himself essentially a double kill very quickly, but then he's taking a couple tower hits. He's really low. The Gnar into Cataclysm. So strong, and then of course they'll try to chase down, but they don't have any more crowd control to keep that guy in place, so he'll get out essentially scot-free after losing his passive. But nice rotation there for Gnar to show up even without having to teleport in.
Another really clutch thing that happened, Gnar did not stay to kill the Bloblets. Yeah, okay, woo, Zac gets away. But instead of doing that, he goes back in and gets the combo with Jarvan and makes the fight worth it. So a split decision there. Which was more important? The bigger fight. Yes, Zac does get away, and that's not perfect, but it's better than what it could have been. And the
nice steal.
Dagger call, or feather call, I should say, not daggers. Nidalee One Trick stealing out that Scuttle Crab. That's good for them. They need to keep their vision up because they're ahead right now. They're about 2,500 gold. They're 3 kills up. They want to make sure and keep an eye on this Drake. They don't want them to be stacking it as high as they got it in the first game, because that's what won them the game, with that Elder Drake with 3-4 Drakes on it.
And there's another one spawning in just under a minute here. It'll be down there, and then the Scuttle will do work for that. You can see that nobody's really paying attention to the top lane here. It'll start pushing in favor of Oregon shortly. And that wave control is what we saw from Stanford last game, where they set the side waves in their advantage before these fights so that they could at least get something or deny some golden experience when it would crash on a turret during a team fight. But that's set up now in Oregon's favor in the top lane, and there's no teleport available for Carlton. They'd have to send Cassian up there with slower wave clear, and somebody would have to match the Gnar. Speaking of matching the Gnar, though, it's a little bit of an engage from the Cassian down there.
And it looks like he even wins out that trade. Gnar being a little less healthy, just looking here on the sides. And it's all about this Drake right now. It is alive. It is a Mountain Drake. It's very important to the Siege game that both of these players have. But a flash-blown Fidix needing to flash the Orianna ultimate. And that is really unfortunate. A great tool to use for engage, and now it's gone.
Yes. You get the flash from the Tristana, though, and that tells you that if her rocket jump is down, Cataclysm, Gnar, those things, they will knock that Tristana around like a ping pong ball. She's got nowhere she can go, nothing she can really do about it. So you can watch the rocket jump in this fight. Dragon's resetting, unfortunately, for Stanford. They kind of have a decent position. They back themselves into a corner. They're not going to be able to contest this any longer. Tristana actually going to base now at full health. They're going to concede this dragon, pick up whatever items they feel they need for the next fight. And I'm okay with this. Like for Stanford, I'm okay with that as long as you're actually picking up a necessary item. Now that they think that Tristana's gone, they're pretty certain that she's not able to show up, then they're going to show up to the Baron started up, actually, even though they don't have a pink in the pit. This could be really, really risky for Oregon, though they're melting it down.
They are melting it down, but now Mega Gnar is almost available. I think that's what they were trying to wait for. There's the Let's Bounce, and the Cosmic Radiance is down. Fidix gets not Tanner, but blue team does keep the Baron. That's a kill onto the Gnar. Fidix knocks everybody away with the Buster Shot, but now Spanky is going to make it out. Ooh. Flash forward, Jarvan gets the kill onto the Tristana, but it is a not favorable trade there. They get one Baron buff out of it.
Holy, one Baron buff. It's going to be on that Jarvan. He gets away with a blinking health bar. It was a really close fight. The Cosmic Radiance just doing work there. The Miss Smite. Let's take a second look at this. You can see Baron gets extremely low, down to 2,000 health as Unstoppable Zach goes in, barely resets his position because he doesn't want to leave the pit. Smite comes through, leaves it with 150 health, and that's going to be Gnar auto-attacking it essentially to get that. And then you can see the fight breaks out. The fear does work as Carlton Danks is just melting health bars on the side here. Flash over the wall, matched by the Orianna. Then, of course, on the bottom of your screen, close fight between Tristana and the Jarvan. He uses his combo in the reverse, but then flashes to get the auto attack necessary to take her down. So again, the Baron was secured by Gnar in favor of Oregon. They get a lot of gold for that, and then that's going to be the buff still remaining on Jarvan, the only remaining member. They're going to get this Mountain Drake. But you can see it, the gold, it's 1,000. It's nothing at 24 minutes. There's no difference there, and this is just one Drake going back and forth. This is a mountain. It's slightly more valuable now that we're approaching the mid to late. It's more valuable than that Ocean Drake, especially because there's pretty little poke from either of these teams. The Ocean won't really help you out too much.
No.
But yeah, I mean, in that last fight, you saw the combo of Cosmic Radiance plus a Fear going off on a multiple people from Carlton. That's really, really strong. That's not only a kill ult on all of your team, but a Fear onto everyone else. One of the strongest forms of crowd control in the game. So if they can continue to fight like that, things should go pretty well for them.
Elastic Slingshot is held. They don't want to fight quite yet. They do have all 5 members from both teams. Bootless is trying to get some damage down, but he has to hop away. In goes the rest of the team. That's the first kill onto Fidix, and then the next kill right onto Zach. Carlton is the next target. Meanwhile, Gnar goes down on the far side. Mr. PBH does get stunned. Somehow Zach had his passive back up, and that is a 3-for-1 trade so far. They're just going to take this turret because they have the Baron buff.
Yeah, I feel like the story this entire evening has been which team has Tristana and how quickly can they get 100 to 0 by their own poor positioning. I mean, I hate to point things like this out, but you cannot step so far forward as Tristana, especially as you get later and later in the game and you have Draw of Bead giving you more and more positional advantage. You just have that attack range. You can't get hit by a shockwave like that, especially when you're down flash. You don't have your heal. You got 100 to 0 before being able to DPS at all in that fight, and that's just really, really bad for Stanford's composition because we talked about, once again, even if you have multiple damage threats, you lose out on one of your main ones. Someone who's supposed to be critting multiple members, that's just not enough for you. Let's take a second look at that fight. You can see there's all this clumped up, a 2-man shockwave almost into 3, and that's Tristana's health bar just deleted. You can see even 5 seconds have passed before anyone else even gets close to dying. There's going to be Gnar falling on the other side of the fight. Dolce Pooncake actually really strong. He's the one who essentially won the Baron team fight on the tail end of it. But then Zach goes back in. There's not a lot of communication there. Carlton Danks is just trying to get back out. Just try and save your own lives. Get back out. Don't sacrifice yourself for other team members if they have their own path to escape. The Tristana there was the big problem, though.
Oh, yeah.
You need that damage.
And now it's really interesting because, just like you were saying, that Draw a Bead passive, why are you that close? You have Zach, you have Kassadin, you have Tarek, and Urgot that are all going to absorb everything. Oh, the red buff auto attack almost got the enough slow, but not Tanner, unable to land that last skill shot.
And it looks like they're going to press here for the top lane. The Baron buff has gone off of Bot with My Support, so they're not going to have like super buffed up minions to help them with this push. But Urgot's on the bottom side. He does have his teleport available. Tristana, trying to wave clear mid, does have static shiv and crit chance, so should be able to do that. But you can see the superior vision control. Tristana going to have to take the long route back to her team, use Rocket Jump to get there. And you can see the Nidalee one trick has a decent build, a lot of crit chance, able to DPS down these turrets. Elastic Slingshot on a short cooldown because it was canceled by Clans. He is out of vision, only barely. And there you go.
He jumps in, but there's the Cosmic Radiance. Nard gets 3 with his. They are still underneath the turret, but Clans takes Jarvan out of turret range. Double kill there for the Orianna, and another double for everyone. Urgot the only one alive now for Stanford. That might be the fight.
Why? Why was Urgot just like not there? I mean, he's here with full health. If he lands a skill shot, he might be able to take down.
He might take down one of them.
But why are you not in that fight? You're full health. You have your teleport available. That was awkward.
That was the ult.
Carlton, come on, man. You've been performing so well in these last few fights, the last couple games. Kind of a throw here, as now they're going to lose their second side lane inhibitor. There's very few chances left for Stanford to bring this back. The story there was Orianna Shockwave once again. Not really. I'll make the point here as we watch it happen one more time. You can see nice Cosmic Radiance, but the Gnar CCs them against the wall. The Cataclysm comes through, and it's actually a key part of this fight because even though this Cosmic Radiance stops all of the damage in the forefront, they held the key spells because they saw it coming through. Crowd controlled everyone, essentially, to make sure they could just wait it out. As soon as Cosmic Radiance is over, those two are clumped up, and they just get deleted by not only the Shockwave, but of course Nidalee One Trick pulling the feathers back in. The crits come through, deleting them from essentially full health. And so, yeah, I mean, nice comboing of abilities from Oregon. Well-played team fight. There's an argument to be made where Carlton's just like, it's over. At that team fight, there's nothing I can do, so I might as well pick up the last little bit of farm right here, make sure the supers don't push into base in the meantime. I can't really defend 1v4.
Well, that's where he started that whole fight, was there, but you know what? You still had a turret at that point. Why not teleport?
Yeah.
I don't know that I agree with him there to stay and clear the wave. You still have Nexus turrets. If you go and win that fight, you can then back and save your turrets. But if you don't go win the fight, then those minions are still going to keep pushing. I don't know. I think that he should have teleported and helped in that fight because...
I mean, absolutely. I'm just trying to come up with an explanation as to why he might not have chosen to teleport. Didn't realize it in time, and the other points I made. But at this point, someone has to return to bottom lane. It's going to be Carlton. He has his teleport available. Perhaps this is what he's been saving it for, is being able to defend the base and show up to a Baron fight. But there's no vision. Of course, they're going to start the Baron. As soon as Bootless Triton jumps over, they're going to know that they're doing the Baron if they haven't already guessed already. It's not even contestable.
They can't even stop it. That Mountain Drake plus their... there's 5,000 gold lead. And look at all those wards there. Look at all those blue wards on the top side of the jungle. There was no way Stanford was going to get in there without being seen and immediately stop.
I mean, look at the inventory for Oregon. Even with all of that vision already put down, they have 4 control wards in their inventory. And 2 sweepers. This is like so much vision prioritization from Oregon. I'm loving it. I think it's really, really smart. They're going to meet this last wave here that's no longer super minions because the inhibitor just respawned. You can see on the way pings from red team. Stanford want to defend it. This is going to likely be the last team fight if Oregon can play it right. Mega Gnar's almost already up. And there you go. It's going to get procced. Will they take the fight immediately or not?
I don't think they will. They are going to lose the inhibitor, and I think now you just back up a little bit. You've got 2 inhibitors down and get ready to push the mid lane. This is going to be smart play coming from Oregon. No need to rush. You're already ahead. If you stay ahead, then you're going to win the game. If you go do some silly fight, you're going to lose your advantage and you won't win. And so I like this nice, easygoing pace that they go. They clear the wave, and they're going to keep pushing. Let the map work for you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. The best kind of macro play for League of Legends is letting minions do for you what you'd rather not do yourself. At this point, it's pushing the side waves. So you can clump up all together, 5-man mid, and force Stanford to spread their resources thin and not be able to take your fight without losing something elsewhere. And so at this point, the clock is ticking down to the last minute, essentially, where Stanford has the opportunity to take a fight without losing Nexus turrets on the side lanes to the side waves that are stacking. Multiple super minions will enter the base simultaneously because they're stacking up outside the base. You can see now one wave enters the top, and Stanford has to decide, are we going to split up, try and wave clear, or do we take this fight right here, right now? There's Zach.
He is ready to go with the Elastic Slingshot, but does not launch it because Bootless is now in Mega form. That would be a really bad place to fight. Nidalee One Trick takes a hit or two, and they're just waiting for their minions. No cannon so far, and Clans is so restless. He wants to fight. Minions are spawning in the base, and they are going to try and take care of these super minions, but now One Trick gets really low. There's a Cosmic Radiance cast onto the Zac. Clans is all alone, but so is Bot With My Support. There's a great shockwave. They take down the Casted, and Bot With My Support is still alive. He goes down to Carlton, but now Clans is really low. Let's Bounce doesn't hit anybody. He jumps into the enemy team, and now Gnar is almost Mega. He needs to throw one spell, and they are now into the Bloblets. Nice. A great ultimate there. Tristana picks up a kill, but Carlton gets one as well. Zac goes down. Mr. PBH is really low. Fidix jumps in to try and get Spanky. And now Nidalee One Trick is in the front line. Carlton dealing damage to Fidix is next up. And Fidix saves the game!
Tristana with the aggressive play. I'm loving it coming out here at 34 minutes into this match with the Nexus turrets on the line, not stepping back. Being aggressive, saying, yes, I have critical strike chance, and so do you. Let's see who gets the RNG, and he gets it in his favor. Nice. Essentially getting a 1v2. When we've been talking this Tristana struggling so far, I'm loving it. Let's see a replay of that beautiful fight for Stanford. It
was great. It was a 3 for 5. And now Bot With My Support almost makes it out here, but Carlton does pick him up. I'm surprised he makes it out right there. And there's the jump in from Clans. And look at Tristana being in the back. She hasn't been touched this fight.
And the flash!
Bootless and dodges it out, getting that last crit there. Man, it is beautiful. Both AD carries playing perfectly. Look at their position. Look at their hit points. Here's the jump in. Fidix tries to get onto Spanky. Command Protect starts it. Summoner heal there, or was that? Yeah, there was Summoner heal. No lifesteal built on One Trick. And wow, that double Zeal item auto attack. And one more turns around and explodes from the last auto. And look at all those gold things popping up for assists and stuff. Great fight there coming out of Fidix.
Yeah, and that was just so amazing. The use of the Summoner heal as basically your classic heal bait, right? He held his Summoner spell. Fidix here on the Tristana. Excellent team fight play at the end there. Keep perfect positioning, flash away from the Gnar, so the Gnar is going to compromise position. Use that failed engage onto yourself to be able to turn things around, get a couple of kills, jump in, be aggressive, use your Summoner spell to bait out what you need to get those kills and save your base. They don't lose a Nexus turret. In fact, they even respawn an inhibitor.
It's
great,
actually
great
really
team
crazy.
Fight from Stanford.
And now we're getting to the point that we had the last two games where the team that's ahead does have really good 5v5, but the other team does too. And so we're going to need to see immaculate macro and in-fight decision-making from both of these teams. Otherwise, it's just going to end because Oregon still has that inhibitor open on the bot side. They've got vision control because Stanford has been stuck inside their base for the last several minutes. And so where are we going to see this advantage go? We are now, I believe we're 35 minutes into, no, 35 minutes into this game. Kassadin is going to back. And that means in the next 30 seconds, they're going to pick up a Elder Dragon. But that is the inhibitor coming back. So Oregon need to make this one count.
The thing is, if you can get an Elder Dragon here, not only do you get the bonus true damage, but you're going to have that additional Mountain Dragon stack, which basically will make you melt the Baron that will shortly come up thereafter, and then of course you'll melt structures, and those are the only things left between you and victory at this point if you're Oregon. So you have to play these fights perfectly. Don't take this fight, Stanford. If this is you, just let it go. Try and have the vision at essentially Baron. This could be so bad for Stanford because they have to engage into essentially no vision.
And Bootless is in Mega Gnar form. Clans does get the ultimate from the Taric. The stuns are there. Red team has slain the dragon. Now Bootless is all alone. He does get the stuns onto the Tristana. Now that looks like a resurrection there from the Urgot. He's going to go really low. Somehow Bootless is still alive. Buster Shot knocks out the bot with my support, and now it's going to be a 5v2. There's a teleport from Gnar. He's going in onto the minions. Knockup is not there. Stun doesn't land. Fidix is really low. Gnar is there, but taking too many shots from Fidix will result in the loss. And now Tanner is in the front, going to get hit with the Q. Wow, look at that damage coming out of Tristana. It is just so much. They can't fight him right now.
Yeah, and he's still healthy. He can heal up. He can make sure to defend at these Nexus turrets. By now, there's only death timers in the 10 seconds, 15 seconds. All they get off of that is they lose the Elder Dragon off of a great steal on the back end, and then it's going to be just an inhibitor that they gain. And Tristana able to defend top lane. Let's take a look at this replay, see how the Dragon gets stolen, and Tristana's positioning once again. Cosmic Radiance comes through, Niggly One Trick gets this low, and that's going to be a steal from the Zac. He walks forward and smites with the Cosmic Radiance, and you can see Gnar goes full ham for this Tristana. Gets a nice Gnar ultimate, but she's still healthy. Tar keeping everyone relatively healthy until the re-engage happens here. Carlton Dank's trying to zone out away from Tristana. She keeps herself in a decent position. You know, this is a full 180 from what we saw 10 minutes ago from this Tristana, where Tristana is now positioning essentially perfect, but we're in a Baron fight.
The Baron fight is there, and the blue team picks it up. There's a Cataclysm in there. The first casualty is there, and then the next. Looks like Fidix is on the outside, does not get hit with a knockup, trying to deal the damage, gets stunned, gets gnarred, gets walloped, gets killed, and Clans is now in there. The stun goes in onto Dolce, and the knockup, no more wallop, and he is going to make it out. Dolce does not go down, and the AD carries and mid laners are fighting all over the place and getting kills.
The hero that we've been watching, the Tristana, finally taken down. Man.
Oh, and so does the Dolce.
That's going to spell likely victory here for Oregon. And they're not exactly in the exact position to take the base, and it looks like with pings going on to mid lane and top lane that they're not actually going to look to end the game here, despite long death timers on damage champions here for Stanford. Stanford likely just want to stall here. Tart's back up. He does have Cosmic Radiance. You're not going to use it right here, I hope. But no, you should be able to at least stall. Tristana's going to be up in 10 seconds. They might only get this inhibitor, but they might pay for it with their lives.
I think that they're going to get the inhibitor because they have the Baron minions and the ultimate or Mega minions on the bottom side. I think that the inhibitor was worth it. You get your Baron push, and now Gnar is in the mid lane. They have the double mounted Drake. They have the Baron minions, and they do pick up that last turret on the outside of the base. And you have 3 members with the Baron buff still. So now's the time to reset, get yourselves ready, because you need to take 1 inhibitor and then the base.
Yeah, you need to defend this 3rd inhib if you're Stanford. It's unfortunate they lost a turret because that's one of the biggest deterrents for Oregon, where they don't want to dive something and throw a late game team fight. But now that there's not a turret there, they have double mountain. They've still got Baron buff on 3, as you noted, Jadre. And so coming into this fight, they're kind of set up for success. Tristana has flash available. Heal's going to come up likely before this fight. So we can see maybe the hero once again coming through. But if we're looking here at Oregon, they do have the completed items. Look at the double stone plate, double Randuins coming here for the front line for Oregon. They recognize that Tristana has now gotten to late game.
5 items right there. All 5 of them.
I would love to see either another crit item or like a QSS or a lifesteal at the very least item instead of those boots, as we're approaching now 41 minutes. This is 30 kills to 19, but you can see the gold doesn't tell that same story.
No.
You can see the Fidix has a lot of damage. He's trying to clear out these minions.
That was a lot of damage. I don't know where that came from, but Urgot, one of your main frontliners, is not healthy enough right now. Clan's getting ready with the Elastic Slingshot, but that dealt no damage either.
Look at the side waves, though. Here come those massive waves of minions, and there's no way to defend all 3 things at once. That's how you let the map play for you. You either have to take this fight or give up your Nexus turrets in the hopes that we win a team fight.
They can't. They cannot engage on this. The Baron minions are there. That's going to start spawning double supers.
Mega Gnar?
Mega Gnar is ready, but I don't think they want to fight. I think they can just win with the minions. They're going to have Baroned up supers here coming in. once the red team minions are blocked out. And so the team fight will have to happen. Stanford cannot, they can't just let this happen. That's the thing. In goes Clans. Cosmic Radiance is up. Do we see the flash from Clans? He is invulnerable, but will not do anything with it. The Stretching Strike goes in. He gets the knock up, but gets rooted and gets hit up. And there's Tristana on the backside fighting the Jarvan. There's going to be a Redemption going to come down and heal up Oregon. And now Tristana is the only one alive in the backside trying to kill the Jarvan. But here comes the rest of the fight. Mr. PBH is getting low. Gnar gets the ultimate, gets the wall up, and now Dolce goes down. Carlton is next. And Tristana is still alive and still dealing the damage. They are winning the fight, and the minions aren't there. Somehow, Stanford wins the team fight.
No way! That's going to be the DPS is coming from this hero, Tristana. Oh my goodness, the positioning there and the re-engage from Oregon was just about perfect. Cosmic Radiance blown, gone, not available. Worthless, blocks nothing. Same thing, Clans misses the Elastic Slingshot, can't get in there, you said. Does he flash forward? Doesn't have it available, doesn't even show up, so he decides to Elastic Slingshot back into the Cataclysm. Let's watch that fight. Explosive once again. I'm excited to call this one out. Okay, so you can see, Cosmic Radiance, time's out. There's no way to keep this invulnerable. Down, the locket there was huge to keep Clans alive so they can come back and peel for 80 carry. Tristana trying to deal enough damage on the backside here. The Redemption doesn't heal anyone because they want to press this fight, and there's a multi-man knockup from this Braum. He tries to turn things around, but look at all of the ultimates that were dodged by Dolce Pooncake so that he can turn around and try and flash out of the fight. He's going to try and turn things around, while meanwhile, here comes the Mega Gnar to try and stop Tristana. He gets a nice wall up right when she disappears. Turns around, she can start deleting people while Kassadin is buying time. While Carlton gets a fear off, gets a kill for himself. Those are low health bars, and now Tristana's full health with the shield to boot. Plenty of damage, and there's just going to be trying to buy time here from this Gnar. Oh my goodness, the Tristana play in the late game is coming through, making me eat my words about her positioning early on. I mean, I was right about it when it was happening, but this Fidix player, Tristana, the hero of Stanford, coming through here 45 minutes into the game. Game 3, match point, still up for grabs for either one of these teams as a 6th damage item comes through for the Tristana.
That's exactly what we needed to see. The movement speed replacement in the Phantom Dancer, it's also going to reduce the damage taken. The biggest problem in that fight was Bot with my support went so ham that no one else could break the peel, because you had Clans, you had Carlton, you had Mr. PBH. All three of them stopped all further advancement coming in to help Bot with my support. And so Hero Tristana saving the day. It doesn't matter gold anymore. Everyone's up to their 5 and 6 item breakpoints, and this game is intense. The base defense is amazing. Inhibitors have respawned. That means no more double minions coming in, no more Baron buff, no more anything. No advantage now for Oregon other than the fact that they are inside the base.
Yeah, and I mean, you spoke about it. You have the supers now stopping their flood into the base, but Baron, you mentioned the Baron buff. There he is, the Lunar Revel Baron showing up. 45 minutes. This is a big Baron. You can see 15,000 health is how much you have to deal. If you have a couple Mountain Drakes, you know you can do that much damage. But you can see the vision here is here for both teams, and there's no real side wave pressure. You can see a wave stacking at bottom lane for Oregon, but that's not enough to really pressure the base anytime soon. No. Teleport available for Carlton. Teleport available for the Kassadin. And you know that this Kassadin, look at his inventory. He's got so much damage, and there's not a single MR item on this Xayah. Not a single MR item on the Orianna. Without the Hourglass, you know that that could be a deleted person. There's the vision.
Double Mountain Drake.
So fast.
It's just torn to shreds. Now that is the Baron buff. And you know what? Good on them understanding. Even if Stanford's bottom wave is pushing, you still have 2 full turrets down there. There's no reason to stop to just plain minions. And then the mid wave is still mega minions because you have the inhibitor down. So here you go. You get the Baron because they have to go and answer the pushes. And now you reset. You get your waves ready, and honestly, I want to see them pick up this Elder Drake, too, on their way, because it's in 10 seconds.
It is Elder time. It is Elixir's time. It is late game. It is time to decide this match. 86,000 1,000 gold to 84,000. You can see there's the Elder Dragon with pretty much just as much health as that Baron did. They're going to melt it down. It takes a little bit longer to take because it's reduced damage if you've had a few elementals. It's only a double mountain, so double elementals coming here into the Elder, but that's plenty of extra 2 damage to help you melt the front line. We're going to have to see how this fight plays out. Tristana now with both summoner spells, 6 damage items. GA, though, here on the Xayah. We'll have to see what ends up playing out, how it ends up playing out. This is Meganar coming up, available. Will they take the fight immediately, or will they try for a round 2?
I think that they're just going to try and push the inhibitor here. There is a stun. They're on to Bootless, but in goes Zac. Cosmic Radiance is cast, and now everyone is fighting. There's a nice disengage from Braum. Bootless throws everyone away with the Gnar. The Kassadin is there. A perfect shockwave. Nidalee One Trick gets the first kill. Carlton is in the back line. He is going to go down next. He is going to be resurrecting. Bot with my support is all alone against 3. Carlton now going to be the target. That is a 2 for 1 so far, even with the Baron and the Elder Dragon. Stanford still managed to hold off this fight.
Oh my goodness, and still both summoner spells available for this Tristana. She's putting out enough damage to deal with, I mean, you saw, there is the Jarvan and the Gnar just running at Tristana. That's all they've been doing in these fights, and I mean, what are they supposed to do? If the Tristana is the name of the game, you try and get on top of her, that you've got the Randuin each, you've got so much armor and health, and you're popping your stone plates to have 8,000 health. How can you deal with the fact that you still can't even pressure the Tristana? Let's take a replay at that fight. Near mid lane, you can see there's going to be Zac landing the knockup onto essentially 3 members into the Cosmic Radiance. It's not going to actually hit the Zac, but you can see Cosmic Radiance onto a Kassadin who could just chase your backline. Has no MR. There comes the Zhanyas, and that's going to be Tristana jumping forward to get some DPS. Again, over the wall. We saw this happen near Dragon Pit. We're just over the wall. Near mid lane, you can take these fights as Tristana. You get the peel onto the back line. Tristana still lives. Carlton flashes away after resurrecting, and he's going to come through to live for just another day. Were it not for the GA, that would have been a 3 for 3 overall, but it comes in favor of Stanford on the edge of their base. We're now approaching 50 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, and all you gamers. We have late game. It's unlocked. 6 items coming here for everyone. You have elixirs on most of these players who have already had 6 items come through. This is the buffs now. Buff transfer complete. If you can grab this blue buff on Orianna, that gives you the extra CDR to make sure you hit your cap. You have the extra mana regen to maybe reposition that ball. Maybe that'll make the difference here for Gorgon, because they haven't been able to find a win. They have not been able to find a winning team fight in the last 5 to 10 to 15 even minutes here for Oregon. It is a nail biter. Maybe I can't even handle it at this point. Stanford, Oregon, so close.
The biggest problem, bot with my support, keeps trying to go in on the Tristana. Yes, normally that's the way you do it, but when the rest of your team can't, you cannot be all alone against 3. That's not what Jarvan's built to do. And so we need to see really careful positioning here. He's not designed to be as tanky as the likes of Zac. You brought it up earlier. He needs to be a little bit more careful and do more of that peel and make sure that his carries make it in and out of the fight alive.
Yeah, but as you can see, there's no flash or heal available on either of the main carries for Oregon. That's a huge deal. You mentioned positioning. Tristana's been able to auto-attack from over the wall pretty much every single fight. And if that's the case, then she just gets to it to auto-attack for free. If you don't have flash and heal, and you can't keep your perfect positioning on Nidalee One Trick and Spanky here on their carry champions, that can spell disaster. And you can see now, we're approaching Event Horizon. No Vigar here, but this is where you can see 6 damage items on Tristana, 5 damage items plus GA on the Xayah. You can see 6 damage items if you count tier 2 boots here for the Orianna. You can see 5 tank items plus tier 2 boots for top lane and jungle on Oregon's side, and then similar could be said of jungle and top lane here for Stanford, and then just survivability items elsewhere for these supports. You can see Locket, Redemption, Knight's Vow, multiple Knight's Vows on these teams. Junglers having one for themselves. This is so scary for both of these.
Any team that loses the next fight, depending on where it is, can lose the game. I think that we're at the point now where even if even if Oregon were to lose the fight here at this point, or even in Stanford's base, I think that the death timers are long enough that they can just run it down and do exactly the things that they need to do. Baron's up in 1 more minute, and we can see those flashes coming up available for Nidalee, One Trick, and Spanky. Maybe they want to hold it out a little bit. Minion waves look to be bottom side will be pushing for Oregon, and then Oriana's going to make sure that Stanford does not have that top lane push.
What is this? The 4th Baron that will be spawning in just under a minute?
This will be the 4th.
This is so crazy to see it going this late. You can see Fidix has just so much. It's 100% crit build. There's no way that he doesn't melt whomever he's attacking. And if he can remain as safe as he has in the last 3 fights, which is a pattern at this point, I don't see a way for Oregon to get to him. There's no real clear-cut way to delete this Tristana now that she's become unlocked.
Yeah. I really want to see a little bit better positioning from the Jarvan. Bot with my support, yes, you do. You go in and you try and hit the carry, but when you have no one else to follow you, you have no damage. You're full tank Jarvan. You can't just be dealing damage here. Carlton walks in and gets stunned from the concussive blows. He gets stunned and everyone is there. Bootless throws in the house. No one has died yet. Bootless, though, in vision. Dolce is there. What's going on?
Carlton gets kind of low. He's going to have to base, but he does have teleport to rejoin this fight. This Baron will get melted by the double mountain team, but do they want to take this fight? I don't know, because they don't actually have Carlton there. There's the engage!
Clans jumps in. Cosmic Radiance wants to go down. Let's Bounce throws them up. Spanky is killed first, and now that's going to be a huge fight in favor of Stanford. Jarvan jumps in. The ultimate from Braum is down too, but now Tanner is going to die.
No way!
Bootless is going to die next, and he is being chased down. Nidalee One Trick goes down, and that is an ace for nothing. And red team, Stanford, is going to get themselves into the mid lane. They're just going to push. They have a full minute of time before Oregon is ready for them again.
Ace for nothing! Stanford takes the winning team fight at Baron. And you know what? They're just going to push in 70-second plus death timers in favor of Stanford. They've got 5 members. What
They're going to win.
There's no way they can't end the game here. 1 Nexus turret, 2 Nexus turrets. They bring it back. Stanford with the nail-biting team fights into late game. They hit the Nexus. Game 3, Stanford over Oregon in a hard-fought match between these 2 amazing teams. What a pleasure to cast you, Audrey. I am stoked.
Well, stoked about what? The game's over.
What an amazing series. That made my day right there. 2 close, 1 kill, 2 kills, 1 win each side. Coming into game 3, a nail-biter match. So close. Back and forth team fights, slowly making this hero Tristana appear. I saw it coming through, the light shining into aggressive plays finally near the end there. Coming up on 60 minutes, and they win the fight after losing what looked like to be their top laner. He has to teleport in, then he win essentially a 4v5. A 4v5, and Tristana melting everyone down. What a beautiful team fight to end there. Oh, man.
A twist in our story, right? We were just talking about Xayah being the name of the game. Won the first 2 games. Tristana wasn't good enough. But this right here, he picks it, he gets it, and they win the fight.
Yeah, a great match. A pleasure to cast for sure. That was amazing. This has been an awesome evening of collegiate esports. It's been awesome to have you guys with us to witness it all alongside us. A big thank you, of course, to our fully volunteer production crew for sticking it out through the late game all the way into this game 3 fight. And, of course, for making the broadcast a success. We wouldn't have it without you viewers. Thanks for stopping by. If you've enjoyed our shows, hit that follow button, hit the subscribe button to the channel, and help ensure that we can continue to bring you more of this action for not just League of Legends, but other titles, of course, for PACG.
And don't forget also to hit up the events on the Twitch here and keep following. Make sure you find all of everything. The PACG will be back tomorrow night with Overwatch starting at 6 p.m. Pacific. That is 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You can follow that on twitch.tv/PacificACG. Also follow them on Twitter and Facebook by that same handle, PacificACG.
And, of course, if League of Legends is your jam, come stop on by. Even if it's not your team playing or your friends playing, you know that you'll see more of the fun action that you just saw tonight. stop by on Wednesday. We've got a match coming your way for League of Legends. Beginning, once again, at the standard time. It's going to be 7 Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Stop on by. We'll be casting alongside each other once again on Wednesday, so we'd love to have you there. And it'll be Colorado taking on OSU at that time slot. Until next time, my name is Jake Superman Mori. You can check out my social media, Twitter, Facebook, and the like, at Superman Casting. Even here on Twitch, I'd love to have you stop by and spend some time with me.
And I'm Benjuhadre Sorensen. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. And I love interacting with everybody. Come talk to me. Come see us here. I love it.
Yeah, thanks for coming and watching us for this amazing evening of League of Legends. If you're in it for more esports titles, more League of Legends, stop on by once again. We'd love to have you. That's going to do it for us here at the historic Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse in Salt Lake City at the University of Utah. For now, that's good night and game on.